There she is.
Working on it.
Okay,
Just starting now, you're
all
here.
right. Good evening.
Take it away, Joy. Get this work session going. You're late.
Okay, Mr. Chair.
I'm eating.
Yeah, he wants to eat, wants me to grab the reins.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as you all know, we've been talking about developing mechanisms for clearing the high-value uplands that are needed to move cargo and stage heavy equipment and the items for the transshipment throughout the region. Sometimes there's even need at the lower IP ramp there to stage gravel and small armor to get loaded up to go out. But when you've got vessels sitting in the way, then that temporary staging area, which is how it's supposed to function in the summer, is somewhat reduced to folks tucking things into the nooks and crannies and dropping things right in front of the ramp in order to load quick. So we're looking for input from the commission to come up with solutions that are workable for all. There's if you turn the page, the second page of the agenda packet, you'll see the list of the vessels that have been in dry dock
Is there a pen or something I can doodle with? Thank you, Sonia. We're up.
for quite some time in a variety of locations. Obviously, we're trying to look at ways to handle the issue with the entire facility, but right now our primary function is to develop mechanisms for the larger vessels and even medium-sized vessels that are adjacent to the water and actually occupying areas that are needed to temporarily haul out vessels for repairs, put vessels together for launching, and then again, transship the cargo and equipment and gravel. So this list here gives us something to work with for the discussion. I think everybody knows we've got two that are very large and then a few that are a little further away from the lower IP ramp that are not quite as big, but still considerably large. And yeah, we decided we've been talking about bringing it to the table the last 3 months, and here we go. We finally gathered the detail needed to have the discussion. Lucas has some pictures up. He took some aerials with the drone so that he could show you exactly the areas we're talking about and the bigger problems. But I don't want to just isolate the bigger problems, although because of their size, they cause more of an impact. We do have smaller vessels around the facility that haven't been in the water in a very long time. So they need to be part of the discussion at some point. Go ahead, Lucas.
So this video here, this is the lower industrial pad. As you can see along the north ditch here, or staged throughout, we have freight. It's not a very busy day, actually. Big AML just had come in with a bunch of stuff and taken it out, but it flows through this pad quite frequently, all the transient or transshipping freight that comes through. And as you see here in the middle, the Tuvely, this thing usually launches every year. It didn't launch this year. We haven't heard yet if it will, but the Myrtle hasn't been in a little while. It's on the sheet when they last launched. But those guys are right out in the middle, which is kind of where you need to haul out if you're that size. You roll out on airbags through this ramp. But as you look over to the right side, we have a number of vessels that have been sitting here for many years. This one's being constructed. He's actually going to launch this next week, we think. But this is the Dugong. The city owns this. It's been impounded for many years. Needs to be scrapped and taken away, but all these other ones here are all privately owned. For one, we're working on cleaning up this whole back area. We've already kind of consolidated the, for a lack of a better word, junk stuff, and we're going to be working on purging it and then developing the surface a bit so we can try to get all these guys moved to the edge of the pad at the very least for now. you can see how much space they're taking up when you look from the air. It's quite a bit of space.
Can I ask a quick question? On the account status, so if we're caught like Myrtle, it just was Myrtle Irene. So when it says current, what does that mean? Like,
They're all
currently
paid
a
up.
problem,
They're
or they're paid up for, or they,
They're current. They currently do not owe us any money.
so they're
all paid
paying
up.
money to be there right now?
Yep, all these
Okay.
vessels are paying money to be there. The only thing that's impounded is this one, the dugong.
Okay, and then net 30 is that like a type of payment or something?
Yeah.
Okay,
Net
Thank you.
30 means that they pay their bills and don't have to be hounded.
We can
Isn't
just
that current?
invoice you. You have 30 days to pay
Current
us.
cash
No,
on-
just pay us
Oh, I
within
see.
30 days
Means
before
that
any
it
interest
pays
is
you.
accrued.
aha,
The other
okay,
accounts are considered cash only.
okay, that's helpful, thank you so much.
So that's sort of what most of the vessels on here, or not even vessels, there's cranes, there's drill rigs, there's all kinds of fun stuff hiding throughout here that hasn't moved in many years. So different facilities around the state or around the nation handle things differently. Some have enough space, it's not an issue. Others have more limitations. They have sliding scales. The longer it stores, the more expensive it gets. Other ones have hard limits. It can only store on dry land for so long and then it needs to go away, basically. So that's basically it. In a perfect world, we'd develop more space to haul these guys out and have more freight room, but it's tough to do.
So how do you want to address these boats and these locations? Do you want to address this location first and then talk about kind of the future and what kind of thought process we're going to do with limits or like you said, a scale of rate change for duration? Or, I mean, how do you want to
Can I ask a
address
question
this?
too?
I mean, might as well start with that slide right there, or
That's
that
the question.
picture.
I think this is the primary focus initially, as well as the single barge on the east ramp, which makes it difficult for many folks to haul out on that side because it's right square up at the top of the ramp. And we got little folks being able to go around it, but because of construction and turning over quite a bit of our uplands to the contractor for the project, we are real squeezed and we're gonna need to haul out vessels for winter on the east side of the harbor. So we need to address that issue as well.
I wanted to point out that there's, years ago, we created an anchor so that cats wouldn't slide when they're pulling up on the icy ramp, and I don't know where it is there.
Underneath that stack of stuff there with the open 40 rack.
Is it that,
It's under here somewhere.
is that that manhole
Way
thing
closer to the road.
right on the orange line at the bottom of the?
It's pretty far up here somewhere out in the middle
Way
of that.
closer.
And to my knowledge, it hasn't really been utilized.
It's
Yeah, but
Yeah, but it's
how
about,
could you?
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Anyway.
So is the objective of this work session to figure out how to clear that space, or is it to figure out how to better pack it? I mean, what's the goal? Is it to get more land, or is it to get rid of I'll get all those ships if they're paid? It looks like maybe I don't know the one,
The
but
objective of the work session is to address the mechanism by which to prevent these, what are considered to be dead boats, not launching,
okay,
from blocking high-value cargo areas needed to be open in the summer to stage freight, to constantly run freight through.
right. So why are they there if they're dead? I mean, you could just say, thank you so much for paying, and,
That would be a slippery slope there.
well,
I mean,
if they're dead, they're not doing anything.
Well-
People are using this as just a storage area. There's probably got to be other parts of Nome that could sit metal on it, whether it's a crane or a boat or a.
let me
anchor or
rephrase the word. Dead's not the word. When the vessel was parked there, it was operable. There are conditions with the vessel's construction that the owner is not using it to mine anymore and has been trying to sell it.
That's not the case with all of these.
Yeah.
Correct. That- we're
But
talking
that's
about
not
the
your
big
problem.
one.
That's not the city's problem if
talking
they're
about the
trying to
big
sell it.
Correct. And we've been
Several
talking to the
of these
owner.
are completely are operable.
Yeah.
They work just fine.
And we've been talking to the owner about relocating this, but
Okay.
his options are limited. which at some point we need to find a suitable mechanism to
We need to set
Figure
a
out the answer.
We need to
because
set a policy for future endeavors and have term limits, or if they're not in use for X amount of years, then they need to go away.
we've been talking about setting up a timeline by which they have 1 year to come out and work on their vessel. They can sit a whole season, and obviously each winter. And then the following season, if they have a major complication, they can get a waiver, but otherwise you go back in the water. Vessels are supposed to be in the water. Granted, all vessels need to be worked on at some point. We get that, and a lot of that work has to take place in the summer. That's why you give them a window by which to do their repairs, but that can't go on for 3 to 5, 8 to 10 years. They've got to go back in the water or get pushed to some backland somewhere. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of backlands.
So
But-
just for perspective,
Yeah.
we're looking at the lower pad here.
Yeah.
We let this play for a minute. This is where most everyone hauls out, but the only place the big guys can go. We can't store stuff around the Garco. This is to queue it. This is all for transient freight. Right now, this is full to the bones right now. And this edge is this is where we relocated some of the stuff that was by the Garco. Most of these items have sat, like this thing, all these boats right here. Most of these have sat for many years, not in operation. The owners have been paying their bills on it, but ultimately, those are the only spaces we have to store boats right now on this
You've got
lower
that little
pad.
shoulder.
So
That's
can
been
you go
okay.
back to the right on the tank farm side of things? How far does our land go to the west? Where's our boundary line? Right in there, yes,
Hold on a second. Here we go.
right there. Freeze it right there.
See the dot line?
It extends,
Roughly
That's-
this
that's-
dotted line to the end of this pad.
well,
Roughly.
that's the land we're looking to develop. That lot actually goes west past the lagoons to the Bering Straits pad.
All the way from right there, all the way to
To here,
that.
correct. That whole chunk west of the lagoons and this whole chunk south runs all the way to that just west shoulder behind the Carly tanks that we just repaired.
And south.
And all the way up to the Eskimo Cemetery. See the rocks?
Yeah.
Can you get us there, Lucas? Yeah.
Yep, I can see them.
Okay, so north of that is a lot that we were working to expand. We just had a survey done on it to determine the quantity, volume of materials so we can figure costs.
Interject one little thing. We lost the two sides, the Garco and the fenced lot on Port Road to expansion and the Upper Thornbush. Those areas were used to store vessels. Those vessels are currently in the water. They're gonna come out of the water. They cannot go back to the lots they are at now. So we're gonna have to jam them on the IP. It's questionable whether or not we have enough room, once we pull the big boats out, where we're gonna put all these small boats. And when we do put those small boats in there, it's just gonna jam the whole IP. No one's gonna drive through all winter long because there'll be no road through there.
That lot 5 west bank, Lucas, we just had repaired,
Mhm.
that's gonna be available for winter.
Yes.
He's
yeah.
using it now for temporary storage.
I mean, right now, what we're thinking is more than likely, hopefully we can get these guys scooted forward before winter, and then we'll just make a row of some dredges behind them.
Yeah.
But then the rest of them will go on this upper pad here along this, you can see the recently filled area on this west edge. We'll be lining boats up along here and maybe even stretch them out in the middle. It just depends on how it looks. We're also moving some containers that were placed back here. We'll be coming back over here and organizing these containers.
Yeah, I would say definitely organize those containers up there to
Well,
consolidate them better.
we're dealing with the issues that a lot of them are rotting in place, and moving them is proving to be problematic. So we're working with the owners to,
And we're
Come up with
also
a-
looking, the mechanism we really need to move them is a forklift, not a loader. And those aren't as easy to get to hire as one might think.
40 footers with no fork pockets that are rusted through on the bottom, just.
most 40 footers are top pick only. There's one top picker in town that is not available.
What about the since they moved their office, I know we had talked about it a little bit, was moving the road kind of over closer to going through the, right now, the
Up over
fishing
here?
boat lot, and then developing that right side, that real estate, instead of going out and around with the road, taking it straight through, and then we were having, I mean, I thought that was kind of why they were moving, was the talk was developing that side a little bit better, I thought. Otherwise, they would have just left their office there, right? AML.
Oh, yes, the intent is to take the fence down on the west side of the Air Force lot
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and push that property back up to the toe of the Thornbush property.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, not the Thornbush, the existing upper IP, the pad where the old offices used to be along that shoulder. But we're developing quantities, and then we gotta go find the money to do the work.
Well, if it's just a little bit of fill and moving the road over, I mean, that's quite a bit of utilized space there that we've just got a
Not
road
sure.
kind of awkwardly going through. I thought we talked about moving the road over and then developing kind of yard space on the other side. I saw him taking down the fence and doing all that, so I thought that was the direction we were going in. Granted, that conversation was two years ago.
We dealt with the big drainage issue we had.
Oh, yeah, every
And now we took down the front fence because we don't lock the fence up anymore. And we have so many fishing boats these days that we're running out of space to puzzle piece everyone in there. And I have a feeling this year we're gonna be putting as many vessels up here as we can. But it's also proved to be fairly valuable storage space, even though we did clear it out. So that way the haul road, when they start hauling next season, we won't be having any of this stuff along the road next season because we're gonna have haul trucks more than likely coming through here. We want to keep the shoulders open.
And all of that's there now along that road is actually going to Barrow.
This is all Bryce stuff heading up for the Barrow project, the majority of it is.
We also
That's
have a
good.
bunch of in-house stuff.
The city has this in-house stuff, NJ and the city are going through to,
And us, there's,
Yeah.
anodes in there as well. But that would be a pretty easy place to push out. I mean, some gravel on that. There's some pretty decent real estate and behind you on the Thornbush, but I guess we don't want to give them any more than we have to at this point.
well, down the road, this big fenced-in pad's gonna be especially if we,
Yeah, and it gets pushed up
if
the
it gets
bank.
pushed out,
Love the drone.
Yeah.
It's really
it's
helpful.
a huge amount of area. When you look at it, you see how much this whole pad is unusable because it's undeveloped currently.
Well, if you
When it's
look
developed, it'll be
The
nice.
correct me if I'm wrong, Charlie, the bank on the, right where your pointer is there, that's pretty much all tailings.
Mhm.
So that actually could be stripped off and pushed into that hole.
Well,
No, that's not that's the opposite of tailings. The
I think the bottom of the
the
curve,
tailings is the
yeah,
on the flat
that stuff down there.
that they dredged up to that bank.
And they push those in the hole.
That's an old dredge pond, that
The,
whole.
the problem is that pond has to be filled a specific way. It can't just be anything.
It was partially filled last season. You can see on the side. We had some material that came in from a leftover because the project around town, and we filled it in there and that laid in pretty nicely, but I was surprised it dried out as much as it did.
Now, we're leasing to the utilities also? Or the utilities own what they have now? It all belongs to the
Fuel
city.
tanks are? Or are you
Pro,
gonna,
back up on the screen there.
you talking about inside the tank farm?
Right,
No.
through that. That's all utilities.
Yeah, this is
No.
all utilities.
No? Yes?
No, what are you,
What do you,
Right there.
we leasing to them?
are we,
All they've got is what's right inside the fence line.
that's it?
These ambulances,
Yeah, and
these
that's
pipes,
not even
these
all of it's
boxes.
utilities stuff. The ambulance ones aren't.
Nope.
No, we're leasing where the rock is.
Right.
There and farther this way, yep.
There was some old graves over there by the Garco building, but I think they're defunct.
Didn't know that. So yeah, this pad is obviously if you have a boat this size, or honestly any of these size, this is the only place you really, unless we develop into the outer harbor and make use of additional space and build out. We have no room to go in or width wise. So
Wow.
using this to the best storage practices in mind is definitely in our
So being a
view.
lifetime bureaucrat. Do we need to put into the tariff that you get we have to, on the second year of dry storage, you will be required to either put your vessel in the water or be prepared to move it to a place of our choosing.
Which is kind of what we're here, that's what we're
So
talking
just
about
to
doing.
tell them to, so, you know, like those big boats that are dead center, push them right over to the edge and make it their responsibility rather than the city's to move them.
Yeah, we couldn't move them, the city equipment,
No.
we'd have to hire.
No, they would have to. It would be on
Yeah,
them.
yeah, we would have to contract that with you guys.
Which is why we're here, because the
Yeah.
majority of these vessels are beyond our capacity to move.
Right.
We could talk to the owners to move them, and some of them say, I can't move them. I don't have the equipment to move them. Some of them aren't even in town.
So I have a question.
Yes,
When boats haul out, do we enter into some sort of a lease agreement or for the space that they're on, or how is
They
that?
have a
handled?
storage use agreement that they
Storage
sign.
use agreement.
permit, yes, that they have to sign.
Permit.
Just by
How,
size,
huh?
just by size, doesn't really state where or anything like that, or duration.
Well, it has
So it
about,
sounds like
Square
it
footage.
it's about,
should.
it's about 7 pages of rules and regulations that they're supposed to abide by, in addition to all the tariff rules and regulations that states on the very first page that just by the very nature of you utilizing port property, you acknowledge the acceptance of all of these rules and regulations.
Okay.
But yes, the intent is to figure out, because I've been talking to the attorney, he's got some ideas on some additional tariff language, and the intent is to solidify that and figure out the pathway that we all want to go, and then we can then expand on that document too.
Just a question, if you're thinking of moving, all the way to the rocks on the beach there, does it matter if, this fall, we're supposed to be in a record-breaking El Nino event, which is gonna raise the water temperatures, and we're gonna probably have some really potential for some, Merbach-y type storms. So are we, just to throw that in the mix, if you're pushing everything to that, where the sort of the pad ends and the beach begins, is it okay if, not knowing what the Kiewit people need, is it okay if that turns into a giant garbage wreck with boats scattered and just a tangled mess? Or do you have to take into consideration what Kiewit's the one wanting this, right? Is that the contractor we're talking about? No, okay, all right.
Kiewit has
No,
their.
this isn't, this
their
is.
I thought there was- oh, okay.
Not for them.
This is more
Okay.
property for the port to use.
See all these,
Kiewit
see all the
Okay.
containers laying around here? All the freight?
Yeah.
That's what we need. So
I thought you were trying to
this
clean it
whole
up a little
quarter
bit
of the
for them.
pad is unused because these guys are out in the kind of center.
Yeah,
One of the issues is when you pull these guys out, you typically drag them. So
Yeah.
imagine like this guy right here has a big tongue on it. You put a big 980 or whatever
the
here.
big air pillows.
He's already backed up to here.
Yeah,
So in this circumstance, they'd probably have to get him to an edge. You'd have to almost back it in here and spin it around and back it way up to an edge. But I get what you're saying. It does.
like if that turns into a,
During Merbach, see all the sand here? Merbach put that sand.
yeah,
So it didn't wash any boats away and it didn't do anything else. So of course, we always have the chance of something bigger than Merbach coming
Yeah.
through, but Front
And I
Street's in trouble
think there
too.
would have to be a significant amount of water flood that pad to float those big vessels.
Why just be
And those are the
smashing
high
them?
Points too.
Yeah,
But
that's
out
the
there
high
where we're
point.
trying to put stuff is pretty much the highest point in the whole pad.
Yeah,
Yep.
Shane's right. Moving them further will make them less susceptible to Merbach, not more susceptible. And if it's gonna float them, it'll float them where they're at, or it'll float them on the edge. It
Yeah.
won't make a difference. If it floats those boats closer to the edge, it will float around 50 feet away even easier.
but I mean, is it, maybe it's okay if they all get trashed and then you can say, well, get your junk scrap metal out of here, but the point is, I was just thinking, wow, that's what I was hearing in the beginning, we want to push or utilize that space, but I'm thinking, is that space may be utilized by the ocean at some point this fall?
It won't make any difference. If the roadblock hits, the roadblock crested that, and like Christine was saying, that's the high point on the south side. So when it crests over it, if it's gonna flood, it's gonna flood, and if they smash the boats, whether they're there or forward, will make no difference. If the
Okay.
storm is that bad, it'll crush them all.
Just something to add to the mix, because I bet you were gonna get something.
Don't say that.
I think
No, I think I just got rid of it now.
I think the focus is, you know, I mean, I think we should discuss A to Z for sure, anybody's popping in their heads, but I think the focus, we should look at the developing the mechanism of what is reasonable and fair in order to have access to our uplands that are adjacent to the loading ramps so that we can, our commodity operations can function in the summer. And then to take it a step further, like I mentioned a while ago, we make that even more equitable by saying, okay, now these items up here are not adjacent to the operating areas, but you got a vessel that hadn't moved in 15 years. What's the point? Some of them we chase every year by impound, and they rescue them by paying the bill at the last minute. I won't say it's blanket. There are people that pay every year. We don't know why they keep it. Do we want to not be concerned with vessels that are not operating cargo areas that we need? And if they want to keep paying, what the industry calls it is the backlands. Backlands that are not in the high value cargo areas, do we care? And if we don't care, I mean, we're pinched, but we're looking for ways to develop more uplands to put these items that either they haul out in the winter and they've got a trailer and they can go way up away from the critical areas, because we need those for the bigger boats that go back in the water. The ones that, if they go back in the water every time, that's what we need. It's the ones that come out in the cargo areas in the fall and then don't go back in the water next year. There's the biggest problem and why we're here. The other issue, we can think about secondary of the ones that are stored on the backlands.
So, I want to jump in on the backlands idea. So, you know, backlands are backlands until you need them.
Yeah.
Then they're not.
I get rid of these things.
And so, you know, after we build the port and there's gonna probably be lots of space once the rock's gone and the Kiewit steps away. We're gonna have a couple of years when there's lots of space. And then at some point, there might be another large user that walks in, the mining company or whatever. And we'd like to have this area here to lease, you know, a large scale thing. And we'll have somebody's dead boat sitting in the middle of it that we schlepped out of it. So I think when we do this rules, tariff, whatever, we need to say that, you know, we'll get a 2-year grace period, and then at least you could expect to be asked to move your outfit every year someplace. Not necessarily, but that's the option. And that serves as an incentive as well, you know, that, damn, I better find a good place because I don't want to get
Have to keep
tagged
doing
with moving it every year.
Yeah.
So that's another incentive to keep people to keep their vessels current.
But the other thing is if they move the vessel further upland, then that's further away from the water and they run out of money. That's gonna be even further away from ever putting it in the water. And some of these dredge conglomerates are just a matter of 5 or 6 people, 2 or 3 years, they have a fallout. One guy's just left with the bill and a piece of junk.
Mhm.
And he's coming up with the money every year to just store it. That's most of probably what we're gonna run into.
That's the dugong.
Yeah,
So the Dugong, the Dredgenator, there's a few others that run that west pad that.
Yeah, there's two that can launch. There's 3 or 4 that are just need a little bit of work on them and they can launch. And then there's a few of them that are they're just holes. They're just junk. They sink to the bottom of the ocean and it'll take a huge amount of work to get them operational. So there's a huge range of operability on all those boats down there. Some of them, there's 2 of them that go on right now. The operators just don't want to operate them this year.
But I mean, the junkers are gonna be junk, whether,
Yeah,
wherever they sit,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, exactly. It's some of those boats, it's questionable whether you would ever bother spending the money necessary to return them to an operational vessel. Right?
So-
They're
What's
so
the-
badly gone.
What's the revenue that these boats, there's 23 boats that have sat since 2023, right? So that's 3 years if we're giving them 2 years. So there's 23 boats, and that's a lot of real estate if you add up some of those numbers. There's 118, 126, 160. So how much revenue is actually generated off these 23 quote dead boats? Is it worth the loss of your pad space? I would say get a hold of these guys, and if it's really needed by the city, maybe they're paying a whole bunch of money that's saving us. But
These are our 2026 rates. They're broken up into sections. 32 feet and under for
Yeah.
summer storage is $594. For the winter is $743, and it goes up in categories.
okay.
So as you can see, let's pick like the Tuvli 2, who's probably in this range, I believe.
Yeah.
160? No, Tule 2 is 160 feet.
No, or the
Oh, I'm sorry,
Tuvli, yeah, the
Tuvli 2, not
Tuvli 2 is the
Tuvli.
landing craft and the lower pad. He's either 72, 73. So he's in one of these two categories. 77. Okay, so he's paying 3,200 and some change to sit there for the summer, and then 4,000 for the winter. So as an annual basis, that's what you're looking at. Some of these other guys are like, it jumps up in scale
Sure.
as you go.
But I just mean, looking at what we're about to what's about to happen to the port. If these guys are just using it because it's easier for them to chunk out $5,000 than actually move it and get rid of it and sell it or whatever, and we're just an easy place for them. If the revenue is worth it, I would say find a new place to park, and we're not in the business of having old cranes and pontoon dredges. If you're not using it, if these 2012, 2013, 2014, the pad, I guess it just comes down to what is space for the port worth ultimately.
And different facilities
As we
handle it
move
in different
forward.
ways. Some places have sliding scales where these are your rates.
No, I just
and
mean-
then
I mean, like,
after 24
overall.
months, they jack up to this, and then every 6 months after, it just swells.
But we want to have, for the guys that are in the water that are planning on coming out, they're going to be paying customers and they're actually using it like a port. So that,
Everybody's a paying customer. It's just
Yeah.
the value of the land just massively increased now that we have this development project and our available land has been cut by
Exactly.
70%. So the land, suddenly the IP is super more valuable. This was never a problem until we lost all our other places here.
and I bet you once the port gets rocking and rolling, and even after it's completed, I bet you the land will be just as valuable having it empty than have it, because it's going to get modern, more use. I would say cut the cord, but with
Yeah,
these guys, but I'm
So-
one voice.
Other facilities also do that. They
Yeah.
have, you can store for, like Joy said, 1 year is standard.
Yeah.
After
For
that,
2
you can
years
apply
even.
for a 1-year waiver. After that, no.
So
And
there's,
during when the waiver period, you're given a date, it will be gone by this date.
Well, then I think you carry that one step further for those that are actually occupying the cargo facilities that are needed every summer. To me, they should not be allowed to occupy that space in the summer. If they are occupying it, they need to find a way to move their vessel. If they want to work on it, fine. They get a year. They get a waiver for a second year. But 15 years later, it's not still sitting there, especially when it's adjacent to the water and the cargo moving areas.
Yeah, our port looks like a dump. I don't see how we can operate. And the only reason that people get away with this is because it's affordable. I agree with you. 1, 2 years, that's within reason. But then they really need to, all of a sudden, they're paying a lot more, a penalty type thing. I hate to say that, but
But we have
This is
penalties in
terrible.
place.
well, there's pressure for the
To the
land
south.
space.
I've got 2 here. We got Wrangle says after 12 consecutive months, their rate doubles. Lucas got this from these guys. Here's Cordova. We charge $295 a foot per month for vessel storage for up to 12 months. After 12 months, the rate goes to $13 a foot and on up.
So that's my question is what is generated by having 23 or if we go with the 2 years, then add 2 more. So 25 of these vessels is taking up a chunk of port real estate. So they got to remove them if you don't want to become a storage lot anymore, where obviously we don't want to be a storage lot. We have pressure from all the construction and the boats that you are servicing, the active citizenry that's out there boating. That's how I would do it.
Wharfage on the small boats, what would that be, Lucas? What is it? I mean, I know it varies pretty much what we get in wharfage, but like the landing craft come in and they pay us X amount for the use of landing
Depends
craft.
on what they're moving.
Yeah,
If they're
yeah.
moving, 300 tons or 6,000 tons.
Yeah.
So
But I would say that
it varies greatly.
considerably large amounts of money go through the landing crafts compared to what we collect for storage.
Well, of course.
Yeah, these landing crafts are paying square footage storage rates on all the stuff that stays here. We have free time periods when freight comes in, but for the most part, it's all generating revenue, and then when it moves across the dock, that generates additional.
So I know we're talking about this picture, this area, talked about the upland stuff too. Are you referring to connexes and everything else being on the graduated scale, or do we want connexes to be gone every other year, or what are you talking there? Are we only talking about the lower yard? Because you're gonna see all of those containers next to people's houses here shortly if we say they can't be there very long.
I'm not personally envisioning containers.
Okay, we're just talking about vessels.
We're
We're talking
talking
about the
about,
facility.
I think we're talking about that.
But we're talking about vessels in
That junkie
particular
end.
in this conversation.
And equipment too, because there's cranes and drill
There's
rigs.
5
We're-
things
we're
on
talking about
here.
more than this. We're
that
looking
are-
Oh,
at this, everything that goes in.
There's 5 things on here that are
Got it.
equipment.
Yeah, I saw,
not just
there's
vessels.
cranes, there's fishing boats, there's dredges, there's all
And
kinds of stuff
we-
on here.
And I think we're talking
Stuff
about
we own.
items that have sat for a long time that are occupying space down in the high value areas.
And by that, I think we're mostly talking about this pad as well as on the east side, the east travel route.
I just, looking at the thing, I mean, I've driven down there a bunch of times. Why don't we clean up all the garbage to start with, get rid of the boat that we own, and then ask them to all move forward? I mean, that's an immediate fix that gives us time to figure out what we want to do for billing and whatnot. I mean,
That
that's-
currently is in motion, so the dugong, we're hoping to get an environmental hazard assessment on this season, so we can put it out to bid and hopefully get somebody to just come up with a way to get
We've
rid of
owned
this
it for
thing.
a long time.
We've tried to get Scrappy to just take it off our hands.
And then everybody else who has a vessel in here, every single one of these guys, this jackup rig as well as the big barge on the other side, they all got letters this past winter that said this spring or this summer in the 2026 season, they're gonna have to move all these vessels to a place of our choosing. And what I'm envisioning that to be after we clean this up, redo the surfacing, is just roll everybody up to the edge for the most part. We're already getting some pushback, like by this one, who says, I can't go any farther, it's impossible.
It's not impossible.
So because when they put their big 992 or whatever, whatever the heck size that thing is, yeah, its asset is way over here, but if that's the case, then do a couple 3-point turns and back it in there, and then take the tongue off the trailer.
Push it from the back.
Yeah.
There's a way.
So ultimately that's the goal. And like this barge section here, this thing sat for many years now. It's kind of been getting cannibalized in place.
I know, but I mean,
It just needs to go away. It's not going to be launched again.
no, it's not. I mean, I guess
2019.
I'm just looking at a
Yep.
a pretty simple approach to getting a whole lot more real estate. I mean, all those boats, I mean, the Shelley looking at it, okay, it was allowed to be parked right there last year.
Yep.
Yeah, I've looked down, there's the all-in I think I'm looking at. It was allowed to be parked right there.
Yeah. The
I mean-
all-in was supposed to be launched. The
This
problem is we get promises when they pull out, they're gonna launch, and then what do you do when they renege on their promise?
Well, where we park them, though, is up to us. I mean, when we were parking the fishing boats, you told me exactly where they had to be, closer to the wall or closer to over here, and that's where we had to
If you
put
looked
them.
where this was last fall, this was just full of junk last fall. Partially
Which-
from Murbach still left over and from a season of people just throwing stuff back here. So we have cameras trained back here now, and we're trying to clean it up, and that's part of this whole effort, is clean this space up, make use of it, get everybody to move forward. So on top of what we're already doing, do we want to set timelines, sliding scales of fees? Or should we just allow stuff to stay? That's,
Well, I don't think we should just allow stuff to stay, but I think that, halfway through the season, we're coming to a conclusion that all these things need to move. I think that's gonna be tough with some of these guys as far as finances or just scheduling. I mean, try to get Q-Tuck to get equipment right now. He's booked. Try to get
Well, like Luke
everybody's.
said, they were told this spring.
they were told this last winter.
Okay.
with letters.
What's the, it says they have to move forward. What was what'd the letter say?
It said that they need to move to a place of our choosing, ultimately. And
So are we choosing
in my
here
verbal
then?
discussions with everyone, it's been, we're gonna probably be sliding you up to the bank.
Okay, I was gonna say.
And with the barge owner, it's, you need to make it go away. You need to scrap it.
But again, bringing
That's
the
a-
focus back, and the focus here is to develop a policy here of what we're gonna utilize to move forward. We've got an idea of how we're gonna handle what we've got. We've got a plan. And we're talking about what is the commission's input, because if any tariff change is gonna have to come through this body and then go to council. So we need to make sure before we chase down language with the attorney that we're on the same page as what the commission is and what they consider to be collectively fair.
So we've got areas that are predominantly container vans, and we got areas that are predominantly vessels. And I think we're trying to set a policy for vessel sites. I think the lower pad east and the lower pad west should be the same rules. And maybe the boatyard up top, if you're gonna keep that as a boatyard, that's a boatyard, and I could see people trying to put a crane in there, whatever. And I don't think that's what we want. So I don't know why that little pile driver crane thing, that needs to go away for sure.
I could say this rig,
Yeah.
this rig, this boat, another small rig, and this crane are all owned by the same person.
Oh, yeah.
And they pay
They've been
storage
there a
on it
while.
every year. They've just continue to purchase more things and store them.
Well, we should have, we should have a place for boats, and we should have a place for cranes.
Yeah, getting some of this heavy equipment moved off the site is the problematic, is we're going up a hill and then like trying to get the Judy Ann up to the thorn bush.
No,
You say we-
the boats won't move.
Yeah, that's the problem, is like we run this logistics problem of getting boats to this size up the hill really pushes the capability of some of the equipment that we have in town.
Well, like
That's not what I'm saying.
No, it's not equipment.
So I think, I don't see the Judy Ann, that's a vessel, whether it floats or not. I guess it's no longer legal, but yeah, we need to require that thing to move out of the way. And then those cranes, they take up space, and they're kind of a hazard. I mean, and as are the backup rigs. I mean,
So with the cranes, the main issue, even if we could move those up the hill, this is the only other pad we're working with. Those are really the two spaces, unless we're gonna go into some random corner along Port Road or something, which isn't gonna work.
Well, zoom in on that excavator, that junk excavator up top, right there.
I can't, I don't know if I can zoom in on it, but
No, okay. Anyway,
this thing.
it's a junk excavator up there, and the guy's been trying to find someone to move it for him off port property, but he's been unsuccessful. And so it sits, but to me, that's another one. It doesn't function. They parted it out. It's one of the group of excavators that Fish Marine had. Nobody wants it.
Is that a new owner?
Since when? I mean, no, it's the same owner for the last couple of years.
So it's another one. It's a junk piece of machinery, not a boat, not a can, but it's dead, in my opinion. And I don't like looking like a junkyard. That's just not where I think we need to be going.
So then there's like this dredge here. This thing's been stored since 2019. No, that's since 2018. But when we moved it, it's lived its whole life right down here where these boats and trucks are. And when it went to go move, it left its axles behind. It just rotted in place. So then it was sort of an act and a lot of money in equipment rental from the owner to put it on flats and get AML to move it and then get it back off the flats and get it blocked up. And so, I mean, even that thing needs to have a new trailer built under it to even realistically move it somewhere from this place.
Custom boats and with custom trailers, all handmade.
So
Well, I think those that are clearly in that condition, we could make a concerted effort to send new letters to the owners that these have to be taken off their property, or we will be hiring contractors to make it happen. And if they don't have a destination, then maybe the destination becomes a Montefiore.
Guess I have a slight question on that. If we do have long-term storage stuff where we're gonna put connexes and whatnot, if we're being paid by port users by the square foot, I mean, what's the difference of a boat being long-term storage versus a 40-foot container if we're getting paid for it? I realize you're gonna say, well, it's because resource is limited, Derek, but until we're out of space, I wanna see as much space rented as possible.
Well, a
Yeah.
40-foot container is functioning as being able to have the capacity to store things inside of it.
We don't care
This
what's
other one
inside
here
of it.
is falling apart when it moves.
We just care about what we get paid on square footage, though. I don't really care what's in any of those connexes, to be honest with you. The Argo's 40+ feet. It's bigger. We're getting paid more for the Argo than we are a Connex.
Is it accessibility? Like you can get your forklift and stack those things or move them around versus,
Well,
I think what we
we're
just heard was
learning-
those,
We're learning we
No.
can't do that either.
We can't.
They've been there for so long, they've rested in place, and to move them with equipment would be to destroy
so
them.
for some of these, it's a non-thing, but moving forward, we could have new connexes.
The containers aren't really a problem. We're
Right.
gonna solve the containers
can
with
move
the
them
Thornbush West
somehow.
Fortuitous construction. That will be no problem. The only real concern is the lower IP, haul in and haul out, and storage over summer of wharfage. How can we collect? Because we can make a huge amount of money on wharfage. We need to keep that lower IP open.
Yep.
And how do we do it? We want to not work over the guys who are going to fix their boats and relaunch them, but at the same time, some of these boats are junk and they're just paying it to store it here.
Yeah,
until
exactly.
they eventually die or don't answer their phones.
And I also agree with Derek. I'm in the same mind that my first thought when we first start talking about this in-house is if they're paying, we have space physically, we should allow them to, that's revenue. We're here to generate revenue. That's what keeps the lights on and keeps employees in. But there needs to be limits, I guess, on that. And that's what I'm trying to
Sidebars.
swallow.
Well, I think limits on location. I'm definitely for limits. I think that lower yard where all our activity is, I mean, I've complained before about, the end of the season, and it's just pandemonium down there because there's stuff everywhere. And the fact that we haven't had anything really bad happen, I don't want to say it's a blessing, but my goodness. And I agree. Down here, we need to address this, and the dugong needs to go away. All these boats need to eventually get out of there that are on this whole right side, unless they're getting in the water again.
This guy
And then the
probably needs to
Myrtle-
get to an edge.
The Myrtle needs to, I mean, if nothing else, they can, I've rolled boats, we can diagonal bags, we could spin that thing in place, we could stuff it over in the corner. I mean, anything can happen. I mean, it just takes the right operator to get that done. They have the bags, and I'm sure with a little incentive, they'd probably find the motivation to move.
Yeah, if we could get the Myrtle to where we get the Dolomite launched, the Dugong gone, push the Myrtle where those two are, and then all we have is a Tuvely, and then we've opened up a huge
So
section
much.
in the middle.
So much space.
And then that also, when the big boys come out this year, we have these V-holes, they're gonna try to come out on airbags again, which is always fun to watch.
Which is fun. And I definitely think that, I mean, I'm not gonna say it's self-induced slightly, but sometimes there was no choice. But, really getting, and I talked about it last year, do we have an exact plan for where everything's going? And I believe they said you did, and you had a map and you had kind of a plan on what was gonna happen, whether or not it went the way you planned.
Yeah.
But I liked that. And I think if we can really hold to our guns on, hey, if you're coming out, go out there and put out cones or spray paint. And if you're not between these lines, well, you're not in compliance.
Yeah.
And really make sure that people are going where we need them. We don't want them, we need them to be there. Because otherwise we have to have this conversation about something that hasn't moved in a decade. And it's like, well, how'd we get here?
So another thing is that, the containers, at least in theory, are fairly mobile. I mean, you can pick them and pack them and move them at will
On the lower IP, definitely.
anywhere. And so that I'm, what to know, just bear with me for a minute. So, and we're gonna be accused of having two standards. you know, but the truth is, we're asking the big boats that are dormant to be as mobile as a container. So we're gonna say that, you know, containers could be requested to move out too, but big vessels need to be mobile enough to get them out of our way. If they don't go in the water, then get out of the way.
Yeah, every container on the lower IP is freight. There are no owned containers on the lower IP.
I
I understand that.
I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to say that we're not a double standard.
No.
We're asking everybody to perform similarly.
For that specific location.
Well,
At least
that's
just
for the whole damn port, because I understand that there's rusted out cans up there, but that's not all of them. And
just
they didn't start out that way, or I hope they didn't start that way. Anyway,
Is there something you can put in your letter about rusted out containers? Like if your container is no longer available to be structurally unfit to be
Then
picked.
you're gonna get into, how do you classify that? Who's gonna in charge to make sure that container is usable?
Usable or not.
when it
Right.
comes time to move the line of containers and they disintegrate,
goes-
it won't be our problem, it'll be their problem then,
There you go.
if you have that rule. You know, you're-
You let it go so far.
I mean, there's the whole east side there, but most of that is all privately owned in these little sections. So it would be great if we could take some of these guys, because then they don't have to go up the hill, they can go out. But from what I've heard is the people on Nome have no interest in seeing more equipment out there in front of it and that flats there. And not all of that is, you know, clearly marked and designated with corners about where the lots begin and end. And that's above my pay grade to be like, what can we do on that side?
And it's where the dog lots, all kinds of stuff that's gonna come up in the future, so I'm sure that's a fact. I mean, I think, you know, look at the picture, obviously, we don't wanna be unavailable for deep port users, and if these big boats like the Tuvely or the Myrtle or whoever's gonna come in the future, because you know there's gonna be more big ones to come, you know, making sure that they, like you said, 1 year, 2 years with some sort of apology letter. And then, so that's gotta be at the south side, all the way up against the rocks, and the middle has to stay open, period. I think that needs to just be ironclad, like there's no exceptions to that rule. The middle cannot have stuff like that, because that just makes it harder for the people to actually, you know, move the freight for us out of the port that are our largest customers, arguably. And so I think that just needs to be the new norm. Nothing can stay in the middle, period. All has to be on the south side. And if you want to go beyond that and say, hey, it's got to be in the water every year or every other year with a waiver, I would completely support that. As far as, I don't want to even talk about the other areas, just about this area. I think that I don't know how we've ever veered from that, to be honest. I mean, that middle area was always open until all of a sudden we started to roll out a few boats, and then they stayed there.
Well, it's because look,
Well, that's
a lot of these boats were here when the Myrtle came out, and
Yeah.
there was no room to put the Myrtle here. So
No,
same thing if we say
I get it.
only
Hindsight's
vessels
20/20.
can stay here over 2 years or whatever. What if 2 more boats show up and want to haul out? That's my biggest issue is, you know, we just say, sorry, we're full. Our 6 slots are full or whatever it is.
Well, I mean, if we're limited on space and we're full, we're full. I mean, unless you want to get a promissory note and be bonded and have a whole bunch of money sitting in an account because they want to part in the middle. I mean, I guess there's exceptions to every rule, but you know, we have to be able to do something about it if they don't. And right
Well, I
now,
wouldn't
we
say-
can't.
We tell them we're full, we tell them you can haul out for winter. Yeah, right in the middle of the pad, but you will launch next year or you will move.
Yeah.
No question.
Tell either of those guys that, tell them to move right now, and what do we have? Nothing. We'd have litigation, we'd have, you know, we don't have the ability to actually do that. That's the only problem.
I think we
That's
have
what
the
we're trying
ability.
to get. We
And let's
have
leave
the
middle
legal
of- let's
ability, we
leave the
have to
middle open,
hire a
make them
company.
all have to go to the south side. They could have turned any of those boats and gone that way. And once we get rid of the dugong, once the Dolomites and Mobile, once the old AU grabber's gone, the all-in could go somewhere else that's got a trailer. Those cranes would be out of the way. I mean, we'd have substantial space on that southern wall there if we just cleaned house with what's there. And then just stay out of the middle. I mean, for an immediate fix, and I definitely like the idea of the 1 year. Okay, you better be making progress. 2 years with a waiver if you're making progress. But beyond that, absolutely no. Hard no. I mean, it's become a total junkyard down there. I know we all know that. It's just so cluttered. I mean, you come driving around and then there's a forklift coming out from over here and some guy in a side-by-side ripping over there. And it's like a mousetrap.
And we have to keep, as you go up the shoulder of Port Road and migrate to the right with that curve, that area right there off the road, we have to keep that approach to the beach open. Because
Basically, right in
right
here.
there, yes,
Right there.
because the beach area is part of the lands that were given to the project
Keep
for
it staging.
staging rock.
Oh, okay.
The beach between the causeway and the channel.
Yeah. So
Is there a designation? Do we have to give them 20 feet, 50
No,
feet?
they get the beach.
But I mean, for access.
I believe
Oh,
we have to
no,
make sure they
I
can get
know.
like a haul truck.
Gotta be able to get the
But they're gonna
truck.
be storing rock
All
on
right,
the beach.
16 feet. Jump 7. Give them the minimum.
Okay,
I like
Dave.
the way you
Give
think.
them the minimum. Hold those meters.
So they're storing rock on the beach right there?
They will be in the future. This whole area right here
Probably the
is a
rocks make-
designated
Take down the
rock
spur.
We
storage.
did that the
Yeah.
last
I'm just thinking
project.
rock.
Yeah.
rock is there.
I've got pictures of the last project with the rocks there and the muskox coming between the rocks and sticking their head around the rocks.
I think they
Take a
even made
picture.
a ramp up off this beach straight out onto the causeway.
Yeah, they-
Salmon run was gone. It
Yep.
was Straight up. And that was
Yep.
Yep, the bypass,
awesome.
yes.
So yeah, as soon as we move him, I don't plan on putting anything for the most part in here, but we would love this dugong to be gone. Move this junk one here, organize everybody else at the very least. It's gonna create a whole bunch more space.
And then we've got this, a smaller but similar problem on the other side of the channel that we have to also, based on giving up lands for the project, we need to make it so that we can haul out some vessels that are able to use that ramp on the east side for winter. So the big barge that's in the way, we're gonna have to shift that, or he's gonna have to move it or something. Because it's right in the middle and it's difficult to get it much around it. Once you come up the ramp, it's right there. Which it was his intention to go back in the water, same as Myrtle Irene. And therein lies a problem, and that's what happened. So here we are. I think if the group can sort of agree on some parameters, we can work with that language with the attorney and weave it into not only the tariff, but into an agreement to execute with the vessel owners when they do tie up their vessels, like Derek's talking, we're talking about a 1 year gratis for not launching any given summer, and a second and a potential for a waiver if it meets real distinct criteria, like they are making progress, like you said, or perhaps the owner died. And I mean, we've had a couple of situations on our, and then gear that is being stored at the port where the owner passed and goes through probate and the estate's trying to figure out what to do. I mean, that should be, I think, a consideration as well, but I think we should keep it real narrow as to the reasons that we give a waiver. Unless somebody has more to add to the content. And then do we want to give the vessels that are pushed further to the south longer? Or do we want to give them that same window of 1 year and launch? Because like Lucas said, I mean, there are junk boats on this side that we need to get rid of. Some that are scrapped, some the city already owns, we need to get rid of the dugong. The one that AU grabber is nothing but chunks of a hull and chunks of steel all the way around it. That needs to be gotten rid of. But the other ones that are just in place and haven't gone back in the water, or I don't even know what the specific deal is with each one, like these guys do. But I doubt that their situation's going to be any different next summer. So it's, if you don't have a purpose or long-term plan for your vessel, then your occupying space we will ultimately need to use when we haul out big vessels for the winter who do intend to go back into the water.
Like this crane right here, this old drag line, this has been here since 2014.
That needs to go.
He hasn't missed a payment for the most part.
No.
Good for him.
He's paid for it since then. And when it was located at the Garco across the street, some volunteer friends of his were able to actually get started and drove it over here.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, so I was very surprised.
I was too.
I thought we were gonna be pulling final drives or something to try to drag it.
I mean,
So if you get rid of all the boats that haven't been used since 2023, last in use, this square footage gained would be 35,835 square feet. That seems like,
Almost an acre.
yeah, almost,
That's
get
the
it.
footprint of the boat, not considering the fact that you have to have space on each side to get to that.
Sure, exactly. So get,
That's probably triple that if you want to know how
Yeah.
much space we're really using.
yeah, I'm saying you would gain that. Yeah, exactly. You would gain that. And
So-
just from the ship footprint would be 35,000 square feet, which Shane just said is just about an acre. Plus, like you're saying, there'd be usable space that is being used, like, so they can move around their boat.
So one of the toughest questions you run into then is, if it's someone says, hey, you can't store the
Whatever.
the all in, whatever it is. He's on a trailer. He has options. Oh, maybe it's too big to go down a road. He could get a permit. He could physically go down a road.
Yeah.
What about the Judy Inn?
Well, to me, unless they have a viable plan for getting in the water, they need to have a plan for going somewhere besides the lower IP.
That's,
So when you
we
look
need
at-
the clause in the contract that says you will move, we will be able to tell you to move every year. Every year,
Yeah.
you are at risk of having to move.
Yes.
And that's both an incentive to get your act together, and it's an incentive, well, it gets the monkey off our back. So that should be standard in the tariff, not just for containers as well. So
Yeah, if we borrow that language from a different port, then we have precedent and we're not making our own rules. We're engaging in standard operating procedures for ports in Alaska. Which is, gives us a great.
But that's when we're talking about putting a 1 or 2 year limit. Okay, you can store it 1 year, 2 year with a waiver. What about this person? Because that's what I ultimately like. I like to lean on black and white. Joy hates it.
He
And
wants us to spell it all out in the text.
absolutely, it makes my job really easy. So I can point at something and say, see, follow the rules.
You're not paid to have an easy job, buddy.
So is the question that you're worried about with the Judy Ann is whose responsibility if they stop
No,
paying?
no, not at all. I'm
Okay,
saying,
okay.
what do you do with the folks? I'm using that as an example.
Yeah.
The big barge on the other side of the harbor is another one. We say you can't store it here. It's too big. We need the space. I'm sorry, even if you're paying, we're not going to accept your payment. It needs to go away. That ultimately means they have to put it in the water. They need to cut it apart in place, or they need to put it in the water and drive it somewhere else.
And can you
Both are,
instill a penalty if it's not accomplished in a timely manner? Like, okay,
Yeah,
so,
I'm sure we can.
yeah, so they don't just abandon it and say, screw this, I'm just not paying.
Cutting up the Tuvalu 160 would be exorbitantly
I know.
expensive.
I know.
And nobody would probably do that in place. They would simply, that would be a crazy thing to do.
So
Launching it is a legal issue because it's not seaworthy. So you run into these weird situations.
But that's their problem, right?
Well,
Until
No,
we
it's
try to
a-
move it, and then we're like, who's gonna foot the bill to cut up the Tuvalu 160 with a torch?
I
and
think
then go
that's-
after the owner. That's an interesting.
Well, Charlie's sort of
Well,
saying,
my
put the
favorite.
language in that'll cut that at the knees right off and get the monkey off the city's back on that one, like.
So after 2 years, it's subject to be moved you need to move it if we tell you to each season, basically.
Well, I think the way Charlie's looking at it, and I agree, I think it's a good idea, is he's talking about developing a policy and a blanket for folks that are coming out of the water every fall we have to step back and go a different path to deal with the vessels that are currently a problem. Those are already a problem. We need to say, here's our new plan, here's how we're operating, your vessel needs to be able to be moved at any given time. And if it's not, then you need to come in and talk to us and give us a plan for how you're going to take your vessel out of the functional area that we need for cargo. How you're gonna meet the standards we're setting. But because they are already on ground and already a problem and have been there for some time, we have to resolve those issues. I don't think we need to go over each individual boat, but I think development of policy from this point forward is gonna help us into the future. And then we're gonna have to deal with these that have been sitting there for a while and address those to get them in line with the new plan.
Wouldn't.
Do these people sign a lease when they park their boats,
Sign a storage use permit.
a permit? So they actually sign, they follow the rules of our tariff? Yeah, so all we need to do is change the language.
Well, and I think they'll understand that we have these rules and we push against them and tell them, you're in the way, you need to move. And of course, the answer we get is, I can't. So then the port has the right to move the vessel themselves or hire a contractor to do so at costs that are the responsibility of the owner.
Good.
And at the owner's risk. Moving a 100-foot barge is not an easy task. So we are at that point where we've been trying to work with these guys to get them to move their own vessels. We don't want to move. Not that big. We've moved smaller ones. Just this spring, we moved smaller ones. We don't want to move bigger ones, but we are going to migrate into that area. We're going to have to go out to bid and hire a contractor that's going to be responsible to come on the property and move vessels in our direction when we're out of options.
If I may, just pulling some users if I have probably maybe. And I think the common kickback for, hey, you need to move it is, well, it's where you told me to put it. And I think by enacting these new rules, instantly looking at this list, as soon as you make this a rule, every boat that's on this list is beyond their 1 year and their soon to be 2-year waiver. So really their only option, and I don't mean to strong arm anybody, but I think it works for everybody, would be put your boat in the water. Maybe you take it right back out at the end of the season and you restore it, but hey, now it's not growing roots, your trailer works, you've had to knock out the kinks, that's why it was sitting there. And when they come back out, we put them exactly where we want them. And you kind of have your cake and eat it too there. You're not telling them that they have to move. You're saying you have to adhere to our new rules, and looking at these dates, you're out of compliance. So, we're going to need you to comply.
And then they shift into the harbor and they sit in the harbor and, well, there is a clause in the tariff that they have to move every 30 days if they're in the harbor.
I
They
was going
can't
to say,
just be,
we've got rules for that.
so
I
they'll
think that
have,
would be, and that would kind of, that's a win-win. We get them to move, we've unrooted the tree, if you will, and if they want to put it back in the harbor, cool, maybe they don't. Maybe they want to take it somewhere else. They've got the option at that point. And if we have some stipulation in the tariff that we don't want to allow them to haul out here because of whatever factor, we could talk about that as well. To me, that makes sense, because as soon as you add this to the tariff, every boat that's on this list is out of compliance.
Can we retroactively apply a ruling to a tariff? Because last time I checked, you can't retroactively apply. You can't pass a law and then say, oh, by the way, this goes back 6 years and we're going to start counting. But I'm the lawyer, so that's.
Good question, though. Good
Good
thought.
question for,
It's a permit, not a
that's
tariff.
what we have attorneys for
Yeah.
structuring the language.
It's a permit, not a tariff.
and then it's,
Renew your permit.
then it's motivation.
I'm
And the
a
other
fishing
the
game.
other
I'm
thing
not
that we have also is the jackup barges that are sitting offshore. We've got now, second one,
Jack up sitting right
one jack there, one over there. one out in the water now that they're not gonna go back to Cordova or whatever. They're gonna,
He's already asking us about hauling out here.
right, so,
And he's asking about, is it possible to jack up in the river, in the mud flats, in the harbor, in front of the east gravel ramp, or maybe he'll roll on our bags.
we need to put a address that issue also. As far as terms, 1 year, 2 years, same thing, no different.
Yeah, I would think anything in the water kind of falls under the same jurisdiction of whatever we're talking about right here.
Yep.
I would say that makes sense.
The guy with the jack up in the river also got the letter, it needs to be moved this season. We're planning to disassemble it.
Good, he just got here. So I know we're in a work session, we're gonna talk about this in the regular meeting and then make some sort of a resolution of some sort, or is it just this conversation and then bring it back to the attorneys before we talk more about it?
We could summarize it under new business and take it to the city attorneys, bring back some language changes to the tariff, you guys to look at next meeting.
Okay, yeah, I see it.
In the meantime, we can talk to, can talk to our folks that have the big boats that
And
sit and the equipment.
And these thoughts apply to the whole port, not just this pad we're looking at, right?
Also, the east side.
East and west.
Specifically, this
not-
lower
not-
pad and the
yeah.
east
Okay.
side is what we're
Okay.
talking. The major freight areas.
Okay.
This is our moneymaker, right?
Oh, yeah, you wanna ask Coggins if we can store boats on his property?
Bye.
It's beautiful now. You guys got your work cut out for you. This is a fun one.
Oh, that's good. Clean it out or get ready for the future.
Yeah. Yeah, these are all though, almost all these boats, and a few of them are owned by out of towners, but they're all long-term residents and community members who worked in good faith, and most of them will put that boat there. I've seen 95% of them put their boats there with the intention of going out and mining and life. You know, being a gold miner is a tough racket. It's not always
Absolutely.
profitable. So a lot of them just went out of business. It wasn't a malignant act. It was just, I'm broke and I can't move this anymore.
And I think it's a non-malignant act of the city port to ask now we got to do something. We can't just keep living like
Because
that.
we're out of space. So
Yeah.
we got
Well, it does apply to
We're
fishing
not trying
vessels
to
too.
be troublesome.
We do
just
have
need to
some
be.
fishing vessels that are up in the boatyard that haven't moved in some time. There's one up there, a wooden boat that or fiberglass, whatever it is.
Combination of the two.
Yeah, whatever that thing is, that we are waiting for a trailer to be repaired so that we can work with the trailer owner and haul the vessel to the Montefiore because the city impounded it. We own it.
I was gonna say that's not even on this list. Is it?
We're so lucky. No,
That's
because
because it's going to the trash.
it's going away.
Still there. Still there.
That one we actually have a plan. We're just
Yes,
waiting on a tire.
that one's going away.
A tire.
Just trying to convince someone to start the Boats Hotel. They can take the Dugon, they can take
Yeah.
that one boat, they can make a little hotels, Airbnbs, we need those. in town.
Actually, in Onadir, people do that.
Yeah.
They take these boats like that and they do turn them into, you see it over there. They're just trying to make a buck, and they
Well,
actually
the owner of these cranes and drill rigs and jackup rig also said they wanted to give me a plan to launch the dugong and take it down the coast and haul it up the coast up onto the beach somewhere and make a cabin out of it. But
Or turn the Tubular
Perfect.
160 into a village pier. That would be a great thing. I've heard people talk about. Whether that can ever happen is probably well outside our scope.
Yeah.
But I've heard that conversation about, well, the old days, we would have just sunk it as a pier and put a pier over in Golovin or Shaktulak, or one of these villages that needs a pier. But
Supposedly that
That's
owner
the-
has a plan.
Turn it into the next roadhouse.
yeah, roadhouse pier.
I did that in Unalakleet. It didn't work out that well.
Well,
Thinking
any
it
of
might be
you,
a good thing.
heavy equipment guys, if you get so inspired and wanna move the dugong to the Montefiore for the city, just give us a call.
just let us know if you're free. We'll ask you.
Yeah, yeah.
How much?
Actually, was looking at it the other day, so.
Put a proposal together, they'll entertain it.
Well, I had another individual in town come bring me a proposal actually they wanted to take the dugong and if we basically give it to them, they wanted to fix it up and try to make a freight hauling service. And I just hung my head and got sad.
On my head and cry.
It's not gonna- no, no.
What do we have in the budget to make it go to the dump?
Yeah.
How much is that worth?
Yeah.
Oh, seriously, I mean, all you say, find someone to do it, tell me what.
We
what it's worth.
talked with our city engineer and we need to get an environmental hazard assessment done on it to see what's inside in terms of asbestos and lead paints and all kinds of fun stuff.
What do we do with the other boat? Why don't we just haul it to the
Same thing.
dump?
We did all that first and then we hauled it to the dump.
Oh, Rustler?
Yeah,
The boat that shall not be named.
yeah.
The other boat.
This has a
I'm
good
just
map
kidding.
of the city or the port property line. Right here on this one.
Yeah, rumor has it there's salvageable equipment on the Dugong, but, you know, I never go inside of it, so.
Inside or outside?
Inside,
Just
I've heard the rumor, people go in there and say, you could use some of that stuff, but pool directors always say that about everything, so.
So unless somebody's got something to bring up, we got 15 minutes for the regular meeting starts.
Yeah, the dugong was a fish tender in the 70s in Dillingham when I worked there. I used to sample fish on the.
It was built in the 40s.
Wow.
So it's pretty well
Then it's
be
a thing.
It's a-
dissolving.
Yeah.
Herman Schroeder Senior drove it. Yeah.
Owning and caring for old wooden boats is an art that's being lost these days.
Those guys, somebody told them you have to cock it.
Yeah.
And they took it off the beach. It was beached at Dillingham. And those guys got bathtub cock.
Just household caulking.
And
So
like
that's-
toothpaste stuck it in all the cracks. Here.
In the minutes, need approval of the agenda as presented.
Move to approve the agenda as written.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Lee,
Yes.
Chairman West,
Yes.
Commissioner Farley,
Yes.
Commissioner Noet,
Yes.
Commissioner Sheffield,
Yes.
Commissioner McClarty,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith Isley.
Yes.
Need a approval from our last meeting minutes of April 16th. Any corrections, deletions, additions to the minutes?
Move to approve the April 16 minutes.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Chairman West,
Yes.
Commissioner Farley,
Yes.
Commissioner Noet,
Yes.
Commissioner Sheffield,
Yes.
Commissioner McClarty,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith Isley,
Yes.
Commissioner Lee.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, opening up the floor for citizens' comments. Would there be anybody out there who want to address the Port Commission? Seeing none, moving right along to communications. Couple letters in there that were handed out for you. A letter from Senator Sullivan. Public notice for facility access and the 2026 vessel schedule forecast. Any questions, comments, or concerns on the communications?
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
There are some handouts in front of each of you that were our added communications to the record. The June 8th Polaris letter regarding the BOM areas that they were opening up to leasing. The July 13 letter regarding the marine mammal best contact notifications, and I'm sure Gay can elaborate on that later. And then the Dan Sullivan press release that was issued today for the passage of legislation in the committee amendment on the Water Resources Development Act that furthers the port expansion. Those are all communications.
Any questions on the communications?
I had a comment here.
Okay.
On the seabed mining, you know, this is an old fish biologist. I'm concerned about the impacts to crab if mining increased significantly. But the other thing you should keep in mind is that the geology of the area is that the gold miners are successful on ancient beach lines, and the deepest ancient beach line is 60 feet in depth, which is approximately the state federal water boundary. So I kind of question if there's going to be any leases made out there beyond the state line.
There must be some interest.
I believe the only person that was asking or entity that was asking withdrew their request to go and look into it. So I think it's a non-starter at the moment.
Oh, I agree with you, Charlie. We're a benthic-driven system this far north in this part of the world. And so we have so many other animals that are utilizing our very, very rich bottom. All the algae, zooplankton that is made doesn't have very far to go to the bottom. So that's why we have wonderful clam beds, wonderful crab, halibut, all the things that are utilizing. And then that translates into our walrus, gray whales, bearded seals. You could list, and then our birds.
Those
blah,
things
blah, blah,
eat
blah.
crab. Right.
You're always on crab. But it's a big thing for our ecosystem to start offshore or anywhere offshore digging up. So thank you, Charlie, for your thought on that.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, moving right along to commissioner updates. Anybody have any updates that they would like to share?
Not an update.
Well, then it's,
Oh, wait.
I've been in, last winter I attended a number of Board of Fisheries meetings to talk about finfish regulations and the Bering Sea, and after a number of, I don't know, 4 different Board of Fish meetings wound up, the new Attorney General, 2 days in office, vacated a number of proposals that the Board of Fish had approved, especially for the Area M, the Aleutian, Alaska Peninsula area. And so all those things were gone through the full hearing, were approved as regulation and then unapproved as regulation, one of which I had submitted and got passed by the Board of Fish and then got unpassed. So I've been writing nasty grams about that. And I'm not the only one. So that's a ongoing political battle about fisheries, in case anybody's interested.
And due process.
Yeah. So why have a Word of Fish process if you're going to just ignore it? It was unprecedented in the history of the state. Never had the Attorney General voided an entire block of regulation. So anyway, it's real frustrating. So.
anybody else have any updates?
Anything. 2 months, huh? It's been 2 months, or did we meet last month?
Since April.
Well, since April, so my gears work slow. Recall, I can't think of anything, but I'm sorry if something comes up.
Alrighty, let's move on to the Harbor Master's report.
I have my F-26 fourth quarter report in here. I won't read the whole thing to you guys, but just kind of a brief overcap. Port staff are always working on collections efforts and getting paid for the stuff that's on our outstanding accounts receivable list, working through customers. Thanks to the diligence of Caitlin in the back here, as well as other staff members, but a lot through Caitlin, where our accounts receivable list is at one of the lowest it's been, and I couldn't even tell you. Have an idea how long, Joy?
Long time.
Long time, real long time. I don't remember what it's at, but it's like significantly lower than it's ever been.
It is significantly low. I can tell you that.
Which is really good, which means people are being caught up on their stuff. We're not chasing a lot of people for a lot of money. So that's been really nice, and just got to commend Port staff for constantly working on that, because it's never a fun thing to address. Let's see. Caitlin, as our office manager, is in the office. Alex, who was here earlier, Thompson, he's again returned list. He's full-time with the city. This year he was promoted to our senior position for Deputy Harbor Master 2. It's got more supervisory roles and help take some more off my plate. And then we also brought back Lucas Marvin, who's been working with us the last couple seasons, and he was actually just promoted to our seasonal Deputy Harbor Master. So trying to get some more help and get these guys a little more responsibilities, and it's been working out very well around the facility. Lucas is focusing more on with security and maintenance on the facility, and trying to split up more roles. So that's been going very good. Our season's fully underway. We haven't met in a while. It's already July, but we've had a busy spring. I think everybody that I was talking to thought we were going to have a late ice out because of how cold the winter we had, but we didn't. Everything was on time. Got our barges in the last week of May and more the first week of June. The port has been adjusting to significantly reduced upland storage, just because of the projects we have going on and leased areas that we have. So getting a little growing pains with that, but we're kind of almost over those right now. Let's see, Kiewit's coming in with a couple more barges with equipment for the project here next week or so. After that, Bryce Marine will be taking those barges over to start their big barrow rock haul. And then our middle dock's gonna get busy every few days with rock barges, loading rock and the revolving door with rock going up to barrow. So that'll be good, keeps the docks busy, but it's also just a lot more moving at the facility to keep in mind. We have 7 more cruise ships. They're all in August and September. For the most part, it's close to like one a week, all September and August. So it's going to be real busy. 4 of those are at the docks. 3 will be at anchor, lightering into the facility. Other than that, our dredgers for the season, they finished up their dredging and hauled out. We've been working on a number of things around the facility. We've been getting text from boats right now. Yeah, that's mainly it. And then we just finished up our first fuel transfer for the season. We wrapped up that pump a wee hours of the morning this morning around 4 a.m. That was like 40 hours of pumping or something. So thanks to Public Works for assisting with night shifts, and port people had it during the days. What else? Dock repairs. We were able to award our West School dock that was damaged in 2024 from the rolled Amundsen. We all looked at that damage that happened to the docks when they were in rough weather, kind of beating up the dock. We finally were able to get some bidders or get a bidder on that project. Resolve Marine was able to come up here, do that repair. They were weeks ahead of schedule and finished much faster and smoother than we all thought, and they're pretty affordable. And all in all, went really well. And it worked so well that we were actually able to utilize them for some additional repairs out on the city dock. If anyone's been out on the outer cell city dock in the center where everyone loads the bull rail or the top rail, has been in various stages of destroyed for many years, as how we used to load cargo here 10 years ago is different. Well, ever since 2015 when we got the middle dock, we now have that ramp on the middle dock we can roll equipment over. We don't have to roll equipment up and over the rails anymore. And that used to beat the rails up. So we were able to replace about 30 feet of bull rail on the city dock using them for a pretty good price. And things are looking good. Other than that, Corps of Engineers had a little updating to some coatings and whatnot under the bridge. There was all this hubbub a year and last couple of years of trying to get access under there to do various repairs to utility lines and fuel lines and bridge girders, and everyone wanted to fill in under there, but it was like 8 to 10 feet deep. All that sand had scoured out of there. Well, it's filling back in because our contractors were able to walk out there and hip waders and put up an extension ladder. So my thoughts are by next spring or maybe by this fall, it's going to be plugging up again. So I don't know if that's good or bad. Other than that, busy harbor, busy facility. All the docks are for the most part real busy. There's a near shore fiber optic project going on just east of town. That Global Diving is one of the diving contractors on it. They've had vessels in the harbor for almost 3 weeks, just hanging out, waiting for them to be ready. They just got ready today, so the diving boat moved out there, and they're going to be doing that connection. I believe this is one of the legs for running a fiber optic cable to St. Lawrence. I believe it's part of that project. Cool. Other than that, just busy at the facility, but good busy, not bad. So that's all I have unless anyone has any questions.
Question, when do you sleep?
Every night,
You do? Okay, good.
except for the other night.
The other night,
Yeah. Oof. Sounds like very busy.
Well, one question for you, just because I don't quite remember when. First load of fuel you said for
This was Bonanza.
at the port, so.
Yep, it's the first fuel in that we've had at the facility this season, which was Bonanza. Delta Western now has the contract to bring it in, so it used to always be Crowley bringing fuel for Crowley and for Bonanza. This year, it's Delta Western bringing fuel for Bonanza.
And before we do that every year, that's when we do our pressure check, right? Do our static or whatever that is? or
Yep,
how
we
does that-
hydroed one of the lines and we pigged it today, and they're hydroing the other two as we speak. We're gonna pig them tomorrow.
Outstanding, no issues. Excellent.
Wonderful.
What was the barge that brought the fuel in?
The tug was the Gloria and the barge was the DBL 79.
When it says DBL 79 Nome, Alaska, does that mean it's,
I don't know how they just determine what's on there, but
That's where it's registered, that it
I
says on it.
guess, I don't
Is
know.
that how
Yeah.
it- I don't know, that's
Yeah,
why I'm
like you
asking.
see
It's one of the
Leave
first
Seattle,
barges I've
that's where
seen that
they're
had Nome, Alaska on there, but that's not a common barge for us to see. We haven't seen
well,
that
that's
for
why I
many
was
years.
curious. Is there a reason it says Nome, Alaska?
I'm not sure. Well, actually, when I
Obviously, it's
pulled,
not home ported here.
Well, that's why I'm asking. Like, is it a reason to do that? Is that gonna haul out here? I
no,
don't know.
I don't think so. When I looked up my spreadsheet, which is remnants from when I first started working here, I got this from Joy. I've been building on it since. That's got, barge names, who's the owner, who's the operator, its specs, all that fun stuff for length, mainly for billing purposes. And I pulled it up and it said a company I did not recognize ever. I've never seen them. Something Marine operated by Delta Western. So it's obviously been here in years past, but I just don't know who used to own it. And a lot of times when you see DBL, it's always the fuel barges. So I don't know, it's double hull. Yeah,
Double wall.
because there's the DBL 289, the DBL 79, the DBL 165-1, 165-2. They're all fuel barges.
Any other questions for the harbor master? Seeing none, moving right along to the port managers, port director's report. Take it away, Joy.
Well, I certainly don't want to walk through mine. It's just 3 pages and the elements that are in italics are no update from the previous report. And I don't want to drop them because I don't want them to fall off the focus of something that is still to happen as far as the project. I can tell you on the top of page 2, the second project, petroleum pipeline infrastructure upgrades. We've received an initial 1-line concept layout from CRW, who is the utilities pipeline engineer, and we are contracting them through the utilities. And they are moving forward with the inline idea that they've proposed to put together 35% concepts on replacement of the existing fuel lines from the city dock header all the way up to the manifold and industrial pad. So once those 35% come in with designs and anticipated schedules, then we will bring those not only to the commission for review, but to the existing petroleum terminal operators so that they can see what the future is going to look like for the replacement of the existing lines, which will tie into the new lines that are going to be built into Phase 1 Bravo when that is constructed out beyond Phase 1 Alpha.
So that's everything from the header basically all the way up all the lines. Is that what this is?
This is the header all the way back to the shore.
Okay.
To shore, to replace the existing infrastructure. We currently have a MARAD Port Infrastructure Development Program grant that is to assist with the cost for building the new lines from the city dock header offshore. This is to determine the cost, replace the existing lines, and
Does that go to does it go to a header near those tank farms or does it go into each tank?
Negative, it will not go into each tank farm. It will go to a new manifold off the shoulder of the industrial pad, a little further north where AML used to have their office, along that shoulder. And it will be the responsibility of the terminal operators to take the pipes from there to their tank farms. There will be replacement of the existing 3 lines and a 4th new line to tie into the 4 new lines going out from that point.
This is scheduled replacement due to degradation of the pipes or just an upgrade?
They're not degradation, they're 40 years old.
40 years. Things we take, that's, yeah,
What? You're not 40.
getting older. I'm degrading as well.
They,
I was
This is-
asking if we
this is
were
a-
getting ahead of something or.
we're not having trouble. Where's the good wood? I don't know, I want solid stuff.
Well, we do the cathodic protection, all that stuff, and so I was just, do they do wall thickness tests and stuff, or like, how do we really judge our system?
This is because they're 40 years old, we are making a plan for the replacement of those lines for when they tie into the new lines that go offshore.
Gotcha, so it's really just a timing thing with the new port to do it all at once.
I can't remember, are we gonna have a fuel header on the east jetty when that ever, east jetty when that ever
no.
comes?
There is no plan for that at this time. There's no source.
Hey, anything's possible.
But that's the last phase of the project, and it's not, that phase isn't
So,
designed
yeah,
yet.
no, I understand.
Yes.
So, a couple of projects down under the harbor, the Snake River Morgue Facility, that project.
Can I ask a question back on this first page?
Sure.
So we didn't go over, I have been away from all this for 2 months, right? We haven't met. So can you, is the stage 1, phase 2, whatever we're in? It says phase 2 design is proceeding. Phases 1B and 3 are still in queue. So I'm confused as to the order of things on that. And
Phase 1A
is
is in contract right now and proceeding.
Okay. What does that mean?
Well, they're
Oh, it's happening
constructing
right
it.
now, okay. Well, I'm just confused because, we're reading this old and we got the thing.
Well, the
I'm out
number,
in the middle of
the reason it seems like it's out of sync is because phase 2 was put in place to follow phase 1A.
Yeah.
With 1 Bravo to follow after that.
Okay. So it's all
Because
going,
phase 2 is already far enough along, and the costs were much less than phase 1 Bravo, that the Corps says we can get this done quicker.
wonderful.
So phase 2 is all dredging.
Can afford it even better. So it's all, is the project going well or
They're hauling rock. I mean, they're
just
hauling
starting?
rock.
Okay, they're hauling rock.
They're hauling rock and setting up their foundation. They'll be
Okay.
pulling the spur out at the end of August-ish,
All right.
around the end of August. And then they'll be putting rock in the water next spring.
Is there any kind, and I only ask this because people are gonna ask me, once they get operating, do they have their own, like, say a beluga comes in and they're chunking rock, what's the protocol for?
The Army Corps has permits upon permits upon permits that require them to comply with every level of every state, federal, local agencies, which require them to have their own marine mammal observers.
Okay, so they're planning on having,
They,
I'm just curious,
have
because there's
to.
a lot of ways they can do that. So they're having like observers and then they'll call it if there's a animal
they'll-
scene till it leaves?
whatever the permit requires of them, the federal permit,
Yeah,
they're required to stop work. And that is all funneled through the Army Corps, which is directed by
Sure.
NIMS.
Noah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We don't have a copy of that.
Well, it's
People are
public
curious.
document, sure.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you very much.
Sure.
Just because people are gonna ask me, I'm sure, or ask you guys. Thank you,
Sure.
because we just had that walrus, people are gonna say, hey, I already had somebody ask, how's this gonna work when there's they're moving rock and you have a walrus just hauled out? I'll have to ask, so that's good.
In 2015, when we built Middle Dock, right in the middle of all that pile driving, a young seal hauled up right in the middle of it, and I think it was there for like 2 days. And project stopped until it decided it was gonna leave.
Yeah, I think there was one that died too, and I had to come get that, and everyone's like, now we can start. I mean, honestly, it was in not good health at the time. That was the sickness going around.
Anything else, Joy?
Thank you.
She was
Sure.
on Snake River Morge.
Yeah, the Snake River Morge is moving forward. It looks like we are close to wrapping the NEPA effort that NARAD wanted to see some additional consultations done. We have been given authorization to, in the pre-award phase, to have P&D start the design work so that it could run parallel until the NEPA was complete, which would allow us to then execute the grant agreement. And then we can proceed with design, and I anticipate having an RP package by the end of the year, fingers crossed. We've lost a lot of time having to take a step back because the Army Corps couldn't find all the files where all of the NEPA effort was performed back when we modified the Snake River permit the last time for the river work. So we are still hopeful we can at least get the bid on the street by January. If everybody crosses their fingers, that might happen, which means we can construct next summer. If we lose any more time, next summer's construction window is at risk, and it becomes a 28 construction window, which is unfortunate, but these are things beyond our control. Luckily, we can sign the grant agreement and secure the funds. Our cost share, we are working with partners to assist in the city's cost share. Things are looking well. Right now, the only element is trying to hit the 27 construction season. But things are moving forward as quickly as can be expected. You know, it's kind of like watching paint dry. That's how fast things can move sometimes. Let's see, the next. Oh, I'm missing a couple of things that didn't. I guess the version where I updated the agenda got lost because anyway, the couple of things that are attached to my report here, the documents were included. We are looking at a Department of Homeland Security port security grant opportunity that's due by next Thursday. Yeah, luckily it's a small application. We've had to talk with them on a few things because their scoring criteria is different this year, where they're making sure that you are a high-risk port under the cabinet of the port, of which Nome is not. We're not the Port of Anchorage. But they said that there's still the potential that you can hit the cybersecurity bonus points and score high in that sector. We'd be looking for VHF communications equipment. Those don't often rank high. I think we're going to put in the application anyway and cross our fingers. We'll see. We can't do much about the fact that they don't categorize us as high risk like they do Anchorage because of JBear and a number of other things. It is what it is. We're hoping that they're talking about doing some reclassifications for medium risk, which Nome would likely qualify there. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and take it and jump on the opportunity to try and obtain funds to upgrade our communications equipment for port security when we have the foreign flag vessels in. And we're under the MTSA regulations when we're transferring fuel. The next page is a marine highway grant under USDOT. We are hoping, this one's not due till August, we're hoping to find a suitable piece of equipment that this program funds, like equipment that moves cargo. Obviously it funds cranes and docks and freight handling equipment. We are looking to get a loader with forks so that we'd be able to move containers ourselves without relying on Public Works, who are frequently busy with the few operational loaders they have. or having to hire a contractor, which we may need to go that way anyway, but that's for another discussion for another day. Lucas has been looking into the equipment items. We frequently encounter hurdles with Buy America clause that, but this program has awarded to ports across the country that have purchased equipment that meet the Buy America clause. So Lucas has been looking into the machines that they got and what we're able to make work here so that we can submit to this program. But I just wanted to make sure that you guys were aware that we are pursuing these funding opportunities.
You said we're pursuing this for a loader in this one?
For the Marine Highways grant, yes, a loader with forks. I mean, we've determined that that was probably the better approach because it would have dual use instead of being some type of a small forklift that we could only like move cans with. If we have a loader with forks, we can do something else with the loader and the bucket when we're not using it for forks.
Well, as much
Thoughts?
as I agree, a loader would be nice. Man, I've been begging for some cranes forever at the low wall. They do it in Homer, they do it other places. There's a program, here's the money. You said if we had the funding, well, here's the funding. I'm not gonna say anything about a loader. If we get a loader, I hope we also get funding for a building to put it in. Because we don't really want a loader that sits outside and just becomes junk for the amount of time we're gonna put on it. It needs to be inside then.
Well, I suspect that whatever piece of equipment we do get, we will be sharing Public Works because in the wintertime, our machine would sit dormant and it would serve a better purpose if it was moving and operational and not sitting for 6 months. But that's to be determined if we are granted an award to buy a piece of equipment. I hear you on the cranes. The problem is we're struggling to find people, to hire operators, to hire truck drivers.
Don't need operators. Homer doesn't do it that way. You take a class, you get certified. It's a card. You walk over. They've already got your insurance, all that. You scan your card. It starts clocking and charging you, and you run the crane, and the liability is all on the operator.
Okay, you're not talking about a big track crane. You're
No,
wheel
mounted
wheel
dock
crane.
cranes.
Like what
mounted
they have at
crane,
the fish
like in a CDC does?
Yeah.
Okay,
I think
that's
that would
different.
I think this grant is for
Amazing.
container handling equipment
Yes.
specifically. It has to
Yes.
meet that regard. That's
The
why
stipulation is.
It's regarding cargo.
it has to benefit moving cargo at your facility.
Yeah.
So you have to get some big cranes.
I mean, there's lots of cargo. I was gonna say, lots of cargo gets loaded with a crane.
I can look at that.
I don't know. I think that's an opportunity
I know
we're really
nothing.
missing here at the port. You know, everywhere I go, I mean,
Well,
if you go,
no.
they've got a whole bank of them over there. And Homer and I stopped and talked to the harbor master, said, how did you pull this off? You know, it was grant funded. And there's like 5 of them in a row that they've got, and they've just got, you know, a little card that you go up and boop.
Ryan.
The ticker's going as soon as you do that, and then
Yeah.
you scan back out and it automatically charges your account and your insurance is on file. They take a class so they know who you are even to get the card. And that's how they sidestep the liability is nothing's on them. They've got all the credentials, the
The
insurance. and then
maintenance is on the municipality.
Maintenance would be on the municipality no matter what we get.
Maintenance and insurance. I mean, for that particular item, not associated with cargo. The maintenance, I mean, it would be for both items.
An annual would need to be done on a crane, definitely, every day. But that's pretty easy. That's a static load test. It takes no time with a crane like that.
And the CDC does it.
Yeah, they bring up the crane guy every year.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, I just figured if we're gonna throw ideas in the hat there,
Yeah.
I would love to
Rock
see
on.
cranes over there. And I think the Crowley low wall would be the ideal spot. The maintenance low wall.
Yeah.
Perfect. Keep it way far away from your office.
Yeah, it's not Crowley's low wall.
It's the
It's
Crowley.
our low wall.
It's, everyone knows exactly where I'm talking about.
It's the low
by
dock.
way. The maintenance wall.
Okay, that's it, Mr. Chair.
I had a couple questions.
Questions for the harbor?
Just in your Murbach recovery projects, we have dates listed, and I did hear you say that something didn't get updated, but we are into July now, and seawall repairs, east seawall. Advertising should occur in June or July of 26.
It's being compiled right now.
Okay. And then same with the Causeway Road and 3 dock repairs.
That work, I didn't update that section because I didn't have the info that I just received today. That work is expected to be done by September. Because there's a deadline for that project in September that Public Works intends to complete that before then.
Any other questions?
Maybe just a comment when we were talking about the equipment stuff, and I like Derek's ideas about the cranes. A loader would definitely be beneficial in one way or another, but what I heard a lot of too was sharing between Port, Public Works, and does the city, between the city, Public Works, and Port of Nome, have any sort of rate structure for how they deal with their equipment? So like if we were to, let's say, go buy a $500,000 loader, and it is tasked to the Port of Nome for the summer season, possibly tasked to Public Works for the winter season, how is that, is there a mechanism to get some revenue, and I don't know how it works with the city exactly, but for the use of that loader, if it's owned by the Port of Nome and it's being used by Public Works?
We presently have a system by which the city port pays not only labor hours to Public Works staff and building maintenance that work at the port, but that we also pay a percentage of equipment fees to them for the equipment that's used at the port. That would work in reverse.
Okay.
If we have equipment they're using in the winter, then we do have vehicles we toss back and forth.
Right.
And depending on, it'll be shifted to the port in summer and Public Works in the winter. And then they will be the ones covering the insurance and putting gas in the car. And yeah.
Okay.
Our finance office is pretty good about keeping us on the straight and narrow.
Many years ago, we had money, we thought, in the port accounts, and then suddenly it became a loader for the Public Works.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Pickup too.
Pickup.
Black Ford pickup too.
No, we didn't know. The port didn't buy
Ford
that pickup.
F-150.
No, sir. I was there.
However.
Moving along.
All right. Moving right along, the old business, we have our bath house concept site plan. Talk about. Seems like when we started this, it started to be out at $1 million. Now it's at $2 million. Yeah.
So if I can, before we begin, in the meeting minutes from April, page 3, at the top, I had asked, Sheffield asked why it is not a private project. Asked if it is a high priority. Baker stated it is a medium priority, though we are a long way from developing that project due to not currently having a funding source. So something's happened, right, where we have a funding source, because this is a lot of information about this. Is that right?
No, remember we
No.
voted to get this report so we would see how much money we needed.
Oh,
to fund
okay.
it.
And now we know that it's 2 million.
This is conceptual, and this was already funded.
Another one back.
It's already funded?
No,
Okay, no.
this report is conceptual,
Okay.
and this report was already funded and PO'd in the last fiscal year to capture this information, as Derek said, so we know what it would look like, we know where it might go, and we know what it's gonna cost. We're not pulling the trigger on this at all because there's no funding source to fully design it or to construct it. There is interest, there has been interest expressed at the municipal city level on the city side as well as the port side to find out how we can achieve this project. But we're nowhere near that because we haven't identified a funding source, because once we know what it's going to cost, then we can prioritize where it fits on the let's do this or not list.
I guess I just went straight to the last page and I went 1891 a square foot. Dang, $500,000 contingencies though. So I guess if that's thrown in the mix, that does bring this rather small building up to the prime real estate value of $2 million, which, I mean, the first thing I think is, can we just make this a trailer bowl unit that's way cheaper than, because that's crazy.
Well, the $500,000 contingency is based on concept level cost estimate. As you take something to 35 and 65, the contingency starts dropping. Because there's a lot of unknowns when they're trying to ferret out exactly the type of building. I mean, Eric knows all this. Exactly how you're going to construct it, exactly what's going to be inside it, all the mechanical, all of it. Then they start narrowing that down and getting those costs, and then the contingency falls. Because the unknowns are disappearing.
I tried to look in, I didn't quite see it. Maybe I just didn't look hard enough. It's a what by what building? What's the footprint?
Well, we know what to do with those
I
old
was
boats
trying to
now.
look.
We just
I-
put showers
Well,
in
there
those
should
things.
be
The only, what's that?
700 square feet.
Put
Yeah, I was
showers in
gonna say,
there.
so it's pretty small, and even if we took the contingencies to zero and made it just 1.5 million, I'll still say it again, can we make this a trailer version that's much cheaper?
It's the dugong. Get that dugong
I
with a
mean,
shower head and a heater.
They have
I mean,
portable trailers, a couple $100,000.
This
I mean,
is,
try it, and if we like it and it's awesome and there's like a business model that makes sense, then sweet, we can have the city buy it because they need that for themselves anyway somewhere else, and then we can build a $2 million. I mean,
That's a
I'm
lot of
just like
cabbage.
proofing the concept without going
I like that.
1.5 million deep into
That's
a rather
squeaky.
small structures. I don't know, it was just a hard one for me to swallow. When I saw 1.5 and a rather small building, just looking at the concept drawing anyway, trying to extrapolate from that, I was like, my goodness, who's building this?
I think that the city has a rec center that already has a shower facility and whatnot, so they can go use that, help generate some revenue for that particular building instead of going and building a new one for $2 million, so.
And I will validate though that I have, and we have all heard that this was requested since long as I can remember. So I'm not saying that this has not been a hot topic, but man,
Now we know.
Even at 1.5 million, it's, yeah.
Crazy.
Eric, on construction in Nome,
Tell you what, the
building
port's gonna be.
construction in Nome.
Yeah, it's called haywire.
Yeah.
$500 a square foot is cheap.
Yeah, it's going off the rails.
And we're building in Diamond at about $1,000 a square foot. I know. Most of it's just getting there.
Yeah,
And
it's
the
all
hope
transportation.
weather holds.
Well, I mean, you guys hold the wand, the weapon, let me back that up. You guys, not the weapon, but you guys have the magic wand as to put this near the bottom of the list or somewhere toward the bottom or in the middle. How much further do you want to take this concept investigation? We can have the guys just stand by for now because we do have a lot of different pots to put money in. But we don't like to ignore projects that people are interested in seeing something happen, which includes, the city is asked about this. Well, I've always held firm to any laundry facility needs to be downtown or in town proper so that the whole community can use it. Because the idea of constructing a shower, laundry, restroom facility in the port, even if we say it's going to be seasonal and pickle it in the winter, then we're going to wind up not pickling it in the winter because the community is going to need it because now we have a laundry facility, which isn't a bad idea as long as everybody's on the same page that we're going to need to spend the money to make that happen if it's going to be year-round.
To maintain
Operation.
and operate.
Yeah, and it's going to need a contractor. We would lease it and have someone maintain it and operate it because That's outside our capacity, our capability, as well as Public Works and Building Maintenance to do that.
And I think it's gonna be expensive. It's gonna be like the city trying to run the visitor center, you know, I mean, it sounds nice on paper, seems cheap, but in reality, it's not.
So this was a medium priority. We have I think we have, don't we, a list of all the things on our wish list, and then we have medium, high, low?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, right now it's medium, so I guess, are you asking, do we need to change that? Is that what you're asking, Joy?
Well, in light of the conversation and the cost, if that's where you guys want to take it, this was bringing back the
Can't
update to
remember
you
what
guys
the other
because
ones
it's
are.
been on the discussion.
So I guess my question would be, if this percentage of completion on something like this, as far as design, is this enough to go looking for funds, or do we have to have this thing really ironed out before you were to look for funds? Because I mean, obviously, if we didn't have to, if we could find grant funds, you know, I could debate location with, I'm with you on that one. I think putting it's gonna be year round once it's in play, and it's gonna be problematic, but
No, this is
location can be
sufficient
talked about.
info to chase funds. If we want to put it in on that section of our development plan, that we are going to actively pursue funds for that, along with other things we're pursuing funds for, that's where it can go. If people want to consider it, it would require cost share, so we'd have to consider that we would need to have funds set aside to contribute as a cost share too.
And I think that's a great way to go. I don't think this is a low priority. I just think location and making it work that way, you know, maybe somewhere over closer to the mini or over by the lift station over there that's not really out of town, but it's still at the port, but town.
Well, then it shifts to being a city port combined project, and then, I mean, which is fine, because instead of, you know, us just chasing it, then we pull it into the planning commission, figure out what they want to do, where they want to have it,
Yeah.
what the utilities are in the areas. You need to fold in utilities to the discussion and figure out what the best pathway and plan is. The last few city managers have insisted that it needed to be at the harbor. I haven't really discussed it in that much detail with Lee, if he feels one way or another, or if the council or the planning commission feels one way or another. We've just been kind of pursuing this as a port project, harbor project on our own, because there's interest in it and some feel there's a need for it.
I think we've discussed with the city manager in here before, the need for the city to have public restrooms anyway. So this does kind of help their cause as well, and maybe the city or utilities or the port or a combination of all three would have better funding sources to get something like this done. And maybe we wouldn't have to, maybe we could share the burden of operating this thing as well, because I don't want to see the port be on the line for that. That just doesn't sound
We'd
attractive.
have to contract it. We can't
But
operate
we'd
it.
still be on the money. I mean, we'd still be paying for it. That's my thoughts.
As a high school kid, I worked as a maintenance guy in a laundromat.
Tell me more.
High maintenance facility. Always had machines down, always fixing the plumbing. I spent 3 half days a week under the building fixing pipe. I mean, that's a lot of maintenance. And, you know, it was a much bigger facility than we're talking about here, but the boss wouldn't turn the legs off. You know, I'd be down there trying to put pipes together and having it blow water all over me. So it was
A lot of work involved.
it was high maintenance, and you got to have even when I used to go to laundromats occasionally in Anchorage, there's always a maintenance guy poking around. It's just there's usually an attendant that collects money and makes sure people don't mess the place up, and then there's a maintenance guy.
So I think we should maybe put this on the back burner in our low priority list for now, just due to the cost of, I mean, it's there. We've done our due diligence, and I think that's what we need to do.
I'll see if the city manager has any thoughts.
Are we gonna get later in the fall when we're kind of doing more bookkeeping stuff? Are we gonna have our list again so we can see what's high priority, low priority, medium priority again?
We can set that up for like the October meeting.
Wonderful. I would, that'd be good, because then we'd see it all.
So let's move on to new business. We had a work session discussion on our potential tariff or tariff language on facility haul outs, rates and stuff.
So I think that currently we have the permit that's kind of a miniature tariff. In the tariff, I think we should reference the permit and then in the permit would lay out the stipulations for storage. And, and the fact that if you haul out for the winter, you can expect to be directed where to place your vessel or your can or whatever it is that you're storing. And then that would be the same every year. You could easily be redirected. Even if you didn't place your vessel in the water that year, you could be directed to move it within the storage yard at the direction of the port staff. And I think that's the way to do that. And I think, so if somebody pulls up and the last guy out tries to be the last guy out so he can put his boat right dead center on the ramp so he can launch the first thing in the spring. If he opts not to launch in the spring, we need to be able to tell him, get out of the way right now. So that's my rationale.
Made a few notes from the work session, just to add to that. As far as the lower yard, allowing basically 1 year of dry dock at a maximum without a waiver, 2 years maximum with a waiver. That'd have to be something that we come up with that would have to go through staff's approval with stipulation of progress or whatever it may be that the stipulation is going to be. All winter storage, as far as the lower yard, shall be against the south edge of the property. That'll leave the center open. And parking shall be designated by staff prior to haul out. So we know exactly where the thing's supposed to go, where it's going to go, and whether that be some marker paint or whatever it may be, put it in the magic square. It's got to be in there. And then the last one, this is kind of open to debate, but if there were an emergency situation or we ran out of parking, we've got nowhere to put stuff, no center parking in the yard without either bonding or a promissory note or something that financially gives us the power to do it ourselves if we had to. And that would be on a case-by-case basis.
Tariff gives us the power.
But that means we're
power
going to
isn't
spend, but it'll be spending our money and then chasing it after. It'd be nice if that's
Yeah.
going to be something that it's upfront because it's not in the tariff or it's in the tariff that should not happen. Kind of like when these jackups,
Makes sense.
we have to have a special meeting and talk about it and say, what insurance do you have? What kind of special rules are we going to make for you in this case-by-case basis? And I think that should equal springtime, no pandemonium in the middle of our yard. And I think AML and all the other services up there are going to thank us a whole lot for that. And I think it's a safety concern, if nothing else. And I don't know if you need what other discussion we have on that, or if you would need just a discussion to take it further, or what your recommendation would be to enacting that.
Well, I think we can take this, Lucas and I'll talk about some little structure, and then I'll send it to the attorney and get him to weave it into some words and bring it back to you guys. And in the meantime, we're gonna talk to the owners of these large vessels and then advise them that this is where we're going, so that they have a heads up that this is where they can expect things to migrate.
And will that be on paper so we can say they got this at this time?
Well, you guys don't meet again until next month.
Oh, no,
We're gonna give them a heads up.
That's what I mean, just
Yeah.
so if it comes down, well, we didn't know.
Well, they
No.
won't, we can't give them anything on paper until the tariff is changed.
We can just give them a piece of paper that says at the next meeting, this is what we're discussing. If you'd like to participate, now is the time.
We can give them a letter in writing, yes. Yes.
Awesome.
So that they can show up and discuss it if they'd like.
Just give them an opportunity.
What about the vessels that are either derelict, like the Dugon's already taken care of, but the old AU grabber, the derelict,
We will,
the
we have
boat.
with the process and the tariff that we can follow. We can follow. That one is actually, can be classified as a nuisance vessel.
So we need, I think we should press them on that too, so. To get things cleaned up.
Operation Tidiness goes into effect.
Alrighty, all right. Any other discussion on the new business?
I've got I don't know if it's old business, but stuff that I'm just gonna bring up.
Why don't you bring it up in your commissioner's comments?
Okay, I'll bring it up there. Fab.
Moving right along to citizens' comments. I see we got a couple newcomers to Nome, and would you like to address the Port Commission?
No, I'll just introduce myself and my colleague. I'm Robert Orton, a professor at George Washington University in Washington, D.C. We're here for this week researching impacts on the community of the mine, the port, cruise ship tourism. Alex just graduated with an MA. He's looking at the road system, how that works.
Question,
Yes,
are you NSF funded?
yes,
Are you working with UIC Science?
yes.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to maybe talk to you after this. I'm curious. Thank you.
Commissioners' comments.
This work session brought up some very important stuff about the vessels that were here in storage way too long, so I thought that was very informative. Thank you.
Commissioner McClarty.
Yeah, good work session. I think it's about time we cleaned up our yard. I guess I could have brought this up earlier, but I didn't think about it in time. Sorry, Joy. Curious if we could get, not necessarily every meeting, that might be a little much, but every other meeting, could we get a very specific update on just the status of the port project? Just because now that we're broadcasted and all this, I feel like that'll answer a lot of questions around. I mean, I know you're
That's a
wearing
great
multiple
idea.
hats, but as far as the project manager side and the port project itself, if we could just get nothing high level, just bullet points, setting up a man camp, making rock,
That's a
2
great
barges coming in, just some high level update. Again, I don't know if that would be every meeting unless a bunch of stuff happened, or every other. Just something that we could go, okay, that's what's going on with the port project, because, we see a lot of action around town. Some of us are, in the thick of it and know exactly what's going on. I don't. I mean, I see a bunch of them running around. I'm like, oh man, are they making rock for Barrow? Is that for this port project? Are they bringing in more iron? And go over there and they're digging all kinds of holes for a man camp, and just, I don't know. I figured you've got your finger on the pulse. So if we could get a specific just port project, that contractor, how that's going, I would appreciate that.
To the report, because I have a section on the project, but it's more about the planning for next phases. But I'll incorporate that in there.
That's
I appreciate
awesome.
it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
me
That's
too.
all I got.
Commissioner Noet.
Yeah, I think to clean up the port is a wonderful idea. Make it so it's operational and safe and get rid of the eyesore. And I do like the idea of maybe putting some verbiage into our tariffs that have teeth that people must respond to.
Commissioner Sheffield.
Okay, so first off, I'm glad we're meeting because I know it's been a while. So it's interesting and I'm always trying to catch up. And one of the things that came up earlier was we had Kenny Hughes and Lee Smith asking us to learn more about the Port Authority. That was something they had said so we could make a decision and I have no idea what my decision would be because I really don't understand what a Port Authority does. But they were asking us if we would have somebody come and educate us on what the Port Authority does. And I think last time we met, it was like a work in progress. Is that got any more? Are we getting someone who will tell us what a Port Authority or just give us information so we can become more educated?
I'm happy to bring in some documents to talk about, which is simply a Google search, but I'm happy to bring in information for folks to understand what Port Authority does. I can tell you that we spent some time with the city attorney going over previous city attorney confidential memos to the city or opinions on pursuit of this back 4 or 5 years ago, and then again 3 years ago. And I shared those with Kenny and Lee, with the mayor and the city manager. And the recommendation was that there was little to no benefit to the city pursuing that type of an arrangement. So Lee and Kenny both said, okay, thanks. That was, I haven't gotten around the table with them, but that was the response to the email I shared.
So when the mayor and the city manager come in just after meeting with the governor and ask us to learn more about the Port Authority, I think it's something we should probably, for our own education, learn more about. It would be interesting to see the documents, but I know it sounds like they're confidential, that say why it's not a good thing. But I'm just trying to follow through with the advice that we got from our mayor and our city manager. So,
Well, and that's since that time is when I've shared the memos with them, and they've said, okay, that's okay.
okay, well then can they come back in perhaps
Understood.
and tell us that then they're not interested in us learning about the Port Authority? That would be helpful to me.
We can still learn about
I'm
what
trying.
it does, and I can bring that back.
Okay, that'd be wonderful. The other one was, I've mentioned this before, and I'm just, because we haven't met, I've been writing little notes to myself to remember all this stuff, and it adds up. If we could put in the future, when we're talking about the port plans, final plans, can we add maritime subsistence? We have a good relationship with, I think, the mariners who are subsistence harvesting after that. We had the incident with Mr. Anaulik years ago, and then the city had all those, there was a bunch of meetings to work through that. And it would be good that nobody gets caught short or that there's confusion. I think it would be good to bring that probably into discussion at some point so people can understand or come up with ideas or whatever. We can have a good discussion on it regarding the future of that. And the other one is, and I have one more after that. The other one is it like a high level, kind of like what you were talking about, Derek, with the port? I know that the military is meeting in the region with leadership on a somewhat regular basis, and a lot of it are talking about the port. Is there a way that can be high level? We don't need to know the nitty gritty, but sort of high level what they're thinking about just in general. And I say that to bring these topics to become out there in the public for all of us to be, all of the citizens of Nome to be thinking about or learning about as we move forward into, I think we're really underway for a big change here. I know we are for
a lot of what's going on out that way. And then lastly, we had the Ashuro Maru in town, and I wanted to thank especially the port. That was an awesome, you got, however you had the cars and everything set up, and KNOM and Nome Nugget did a great job. You guys came on board, and that I think was a really fun experience for everybody. And then also we had a NOAA Fisheries research vessel with a medical emergency, and they traveled. They couldn't get given what was going on, they didn't want to go to, they didn't have time to go to Unalaska, and they didn't want to put the person at the Pribs, so they ran 24 hours here, and we did a switch. And I want to thank Lucas, especially in the, like, Lucas, when do you sleep? And so that ended up well, and the person is back home. So all turned out well. Thank you for that emergency help.
Is that it?
That's it. Glad we're all together, meeting again.
Commissioner Schiff or Smithheiser.
It's another S.
Yes, people.
Just glad we're cleaning up like everyone else has said. I think it's been a little while in the making, but definitely getting things organized, especially for the transshipment of commodities, like it says in our work session. So glad to see that's finally happening, and hopefully we can not just talk about it, but actually do some stuff. That's it.
Commissioner Lean.
Everybody's talking about that. Yeah, I too are glad to see the action on the port cleanup. On Gay's comment towards the port, I'm sorry, can't say the word. The
Port Authority?
Port Authority. That was a topic a few years ago and mostly to do with Port Clarence and the dissatisfaction that Teller and Brevig expressed about large vessels utilizing their roadbed right in front of their towns. So they had tugboats and research vessels throbbing away right in front of town, and then they swore up and down there was an oil spill, and they're just the dissatisfaction of having, years before they'd had the Loran station and it had chased away the marine mammals, and then the marine mammals started to come back, and then they were faced with another bunch of industry right in front of town. So they were wondering how they could take care of that, and so a number of us looked into port authorities and how to work that, because it basically Port Clarence was serving as a overflow port for the Port of Nome, and they wanted, basically Brevig Teller wanted zero activity in their port, and yet Nome thought that was not so bad. So in that case, there's several entities trying to work in a single port, and here in Nome, we have a single community trying to run a port. And I'm not talking about Port Clarence, I'm talking about the Port of Nome and perhaps the Cape Nome dock. So anyway, that's currently, I think we have an agreement with Bering Straits about the Cape Nome dock, and then Nome pretty much controls the Port of Nome, although the real estate nearby is controlled by a number of organizations, private and nonprofit, private and for-profit corporations. So I guess I kind of agree with what Joy said. I don't know who we cooperate with for a port authority. And then secondly, we currently own the port, and we'd end up giving something up, I think, instead of gaining much. So that's my impression of how it works.
And that's why I want to be educated, because the way they brought it up when they brought it up over here was, it's a way for us to start raising money, and it had to do with getting capital for projects like a lift, it wasn't the noise issue as much as it was for what it sounded like. I mean, the preface was they'd seen the governor, and the governor had said, we've spent $100 million, we've given Nome $100 million of state money. What have we got to show for it? And, and then they were like, well, you might want to look at this port. And so they're instructing us to do that. I'm not saying one way or the other was good or bad. I'm ignorant. And all
So-
I'm asking is that we could learn more about what this is in the context of what they were talking about.
So the governor was thinking of a way to a financial arrangement and trying to work private financing into the port. Just 3 years ago, we had the FBI walk through and interview us at the Port Commission and go, "You didn't really make an agreement with China, did you?" Like, you better not do that. So that, I mean, there is risk. If you make an agreement, a financial agreement, you put up collateral, and collateral would be the port or something else important to the city. There's a lot of risk involved with that. So that's like I said, we end up giving up things more than we gain, in my opinion. That's my impression. So,
Which is why I'm hoping you're there when we
Yeah.
learn something about it.
Yeah.
Because it'll be good to have all your input. Just from my empty brain on Port Authority. I value that. Thank you, Charlie.
that's all I had. Thanks.
Yes, very productive meeting tonight. I don't have any comments, but our next regular meeting is August 20th, 5:30. Need a motion for adjournment. Got a second, Charlie?
Second.
Meeting adjourned at 8:13.
July 6th.